1-0 on Brandon.
Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Well, good morning, and a pleasant good Friday morning. Here we are, ready to roll into the weekend. I know Brandon's already cranked it up for the weekend. I mean, Thursday night is like Friday or Saturday night. Right? Yeah. Yep. Hanging out with your buddy Tommy Thrall last night. Sam LeCure.
Put my business in the streets.
Hey, you run with that highfalutin crowd. Casey, Paul, good morning, man.
Good morning. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing good, except for I left, I had to take my car in for service yesterday. And naturally, I mean, it's a typical Thom Brennaman move. For those of you that don't know me, and most of you don't, a typical Thom Brennaman move where get out of the car, grab my bottle of water, grab the keys, turn in the car. They're nice enough to give me a loaner for 24 hours and leave my briefcase with my computer in the car that is sitting in some parking lot right now or sitting in the service area. And no monologue today.
No.
Couldn't write anything. But you know what? Sometimes you just got to go with the flow. So we're going to attempt to do it just off the top of our head. Welcome to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Great to have you with us. We're here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, Eastern Time. You can check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook /Chatterbox Sports. We ask you to please subscribe to the program. Already dozens, if not hundreds, in on the chat this morning on this Friday. Fridays are always a big day. We got lots to talk about. The Bengals and the Browns, of course, on Sunday. Bengals are trying to end that 5-game losing streak to their intra-state rivals. A lot of people mess up that word. I used to mess up that a lot. Like when you say a scrimmage, it's an intra-squad scrimmage. Or if you're playing somebody else, right? It's no longer intra-squad. This is an in-state, so in-state rival. We'll see how that goes on Sunday. T. Higgins and Sam Hubbard both show up in the injury list, on the injury list. T. Higgins a hamstring, Sam Hubbard a calf injury. They were limited yesterday in practice. Don't know if that means a whole lot, but it's out there. We'll see if they're ready to go. How about Baker Mayfield last night? Now, he doesn't start the game. You know the story, right? He's put on waivers by Carolina. The Rams decide to bring him in because they had lost Stafford, and their backup had gotten hurt the week before. So the backup starts last night against the Raiders, okay? Baker comes in the game. We get to the fourth quarter. It's 16-3 with 4 minutes to go. Baker takes him on a 75-yard touchdown drive. Defense forces a 3-and-out. But the punter for the Raiders punts it almost 65 yards down to the 2-yard line. No timeouts, 2 minutes to go. Baker Mayfield drives the team 98 yards, throws a touchdown pass with 10 seconds left in the game. He had just gotten the playbook before he got on the plane 4 days before. Whether you like Baker Mayfield or not, it was an unbelievable performance.
Yeah, it was. I turned it on with like 4 minutes and 30 seconds left when Baker was getting the ball, I guess, for the first time to drive him down, and saw him score that touchdown. And really the only reason I turned on the game, no joke, like the only reason I turned on the game was because I saw it was 16-3, and I go, wait a second, didn't we just watch Tom Brady do this? And so I turned it on. I thought, we'll see what Baker can do. Sure enough, there he went right down the field twice. And on the second drive, not that this takes away from Baker or anything, but Rams, a couple of really stupid penalties.
Oh, I mean, the Raiders, you mean?
Or yeah.
I mean, really stupid stuff. I mean, really, at the end of the day, he never gets a chance to win the game if they don't commit all those silly penalties nearly. I mean, it's typical Raiders, though. I mean, by and large, it doesn't matter who coaches there. By and large, they lead the league or are in the top 2 or 3 in most penalized teams in the NFL every year. And last night was just brutal. But who cares? Big weekend in the NFL. Baltimore, without Lamar Jackson, will play at Pittsburgh. This is a big weekend for the Bengalis. Pittsburgh has a legitimate chance to win this game. Kenny Pickett's playing a little better. Defense is healthy, playing very, very well. They're winning games, ugly, but winning games. And, of course, no Lamar Jackson, and the game's in Pittsburgh. If the Bengals win this weekend, Ravens lose, it'll be the first time all year long the Cincinnati Bengals will sit atop the AFC North. But, of course, they have to beat the Browns, and the Steelers have to beat the Ravens. The New York Football Jets in Buffalo. Do they have a chance? They're teetering right on that edge of a playoff spot. Big, big game. We're going to go through all these picks later today. You've got Philadelphia and the Giants. Philly, the best record in the National Football League. Eagles have lost one time all year long. And the Giants, much like the Commanders, or the Washington Football Wizards, forgive me, after that thrilling tie last week. It's like a soccer match, pillow fight between the Commanders and the Giants. And every game important for the Giants. Tampa Bay at San Francisco. Niners without Jimmy Garoppolo. Tom Brady. They're sitting atop the NFC worst, NFC South, and with a 6-6 record. But going out to San Francisco against a very good Niners defense and a really interesting game. And again, all these games have implications with the Bengals. Miami plays the LA Chargers, okay? We know the Bengals have beaten Miami already this year, but you want all of these teams that are sitting in front of you for home field advantage naturally, obviously, to start losing games. So we'll see how it goes. Tua rolled his ankle again last week. Says he's going to be okay. We'll see. College football, it's awards week. The Heisman Trophy will be given away tomorrow night. Caleb Williams from USC, Max Duggan from TCU, C.J. Stroud from Ohio State, and Stetson Bennett from Georgia, the Final Four. Caleb Williams won the Walter Camp Award and the Maxwell Awards last night. Max Duggan won the Davey O'Brien Award. That's given away to the best quarterback. I find it really weird, don't you guys, that Caleb Williams would win these two, in essence, Player of the Year awards, but then Max Duggan wins the Best Quarterback Award.
Who's your Heisman vote?
Max Duggan.
Is he a...
You know what he is. But I was getting to that. Hold on. Because in awards week, as we like to say, boys, a landslide winner for the College Football Coach of the Year. Just given a contract extension through, 2028? We're talking about Sonny Dykes. Leader of men. Sonny Dykes. Going to take the Horned Frogs and boat race the Wolverines on New Year's Eve. Mark it down, boys. Mark it down. TCU is going to beat Michigan. I'm telling you right now. They're going to beat them. You know, sometimes on these awards, though, you have to scratch your head. And I'm not saying this as a fan of the Ohio State Buckeyes, which you know I am. There is no way on God's green earth that there is a better wide receiver in college football than Marvin Harrison Jr. There is no way there's anybody better. And yet, he was a runner-up for the Biletnikoff Award to Jalen Hyatt, who had a great year at Tennessee, but he ain't Marvin Harrison Jr. Sorry, boys. Nobody's Marvin Harrison Jr., and he has another year left of college. Can't go pro yet.
He's back.
He's back. He's back. They're all back, except for Smith and Jigba. Abuka, Fleming, They're all back, but the quarterback's not back. And then in baseball news, Brandon Nimmo was given an 8-year, $162 million contract. Somebody on Thom Brennaman TV, Twitter, it doesn't matter who it is, made the comment that there's no such thing as a small market team.
Okay.
In baseball.
All right. I'm listening. I'm intrigued.
Well, I don't know what to say to that. I really don't know what to say to that. Just like stocks, there are large cap stocks, there are small cap stocks. They're based on revenue, right? Okay. For somebody to suggest that there is not a divide between big market teams and small market teams. Now, smaller market teams can go out and spend money. San Diego is not a big market team. They're selling out every game. They went to the National League Championship Series this year, and they're spending like drunken sailors. God bless them. The Cardinals signed Contreras to the contract. But again, they're an outlier, as we've talked about before. But to suggest that there is not a disparity between, just look at what's happened during this free agent season. Outside of San Diego, outside of the Guardians, right, signing Josh Bell to that 2-year contract, billions and billions and billions with a B have all been spent by teams that are in large markets with much higher revenue. You're talking about the Mets, and you're talking about the Phillies, and you're talking about the Giants, and you're talking about the Dodgers. I mean, this is where the Red Sox, this is where all the money is being spent by those teams. Okay? You'll have an isolated side here or there, but come on. I mean, to suggest there's no such thing as a small market team, okay. All right. Let's see what we got here today. We got some new folks on today. We have, some of the regulars, AJ, Jordan, Excalibur Iron Force. Our buddy Sir Boy Wonder has made an appearance. Matthew McConaughey is in the house. Wow. Nice to have Matthew. I mean, he is dialed in because he's a Texas guy, so he knows we're all about TCU here. Anonymous with us. Wayne Downey, haven't seen that one before. Have you guys seen Wayne on the chat before?
I don't think so. We got a few new ones.
Yeah, we do. We have what was he? Larone or LaRon Simmons. Nice to have you with us. 6412 Mars. Mentioned Jordan. Jordan says, tell that to the Pirates that there's no such thing as a small market team. But Sir Boy Wonder says, Tom, I agree about large and small markets, but I also have a question. Is Bob Castellini so small that he can't afford a decent player? $17 million a year? Legitimate question. Matt Blankenship in the house says, go Dogs. Is that the Georgia Bulldogs?
Yeah, that is. Matt's a huge Georgia fan. I will say, you're getting a lot of love for the flannel shirt.
Really?
I told you.
Drip. Isn't that the word you guys use? Drip. Now, see, I figured you guys would have lit me up today saying this was a little on the preppy side.
No.
When I grabbed it, I just grabbed it, and I figured it's something my wife would say for sure.
You're wearing a pair of jeans.
Well, I know, but you can't tell that. I could be wearing underwear and you wouldn't know it. Or not wearing underwear and you wouldn't know it. But, no, I thought I'd get a little grief for you guys about this today.
No.
Lumberjack.
Looks good.
We just need the beard back.
Yeah, what do we got to do?
Well, I didn't shave this morning. I let it go.
You know who's been missing lately?
Sir Boy Wonder says Dielsen. Remember him? Love Dielsen. Yeah.
We haven't heard from Leif Erikson in a while.
A long time.
Leif Erikson's been out.
He's out.
Doing whatever he's doing.
No doubt. Probably
pillaging.
some ice spear fishing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Out on the high seas.
He's not gonna. It might be on the high seas. Yep.
It's a tough scene for our boy Leif. Hopefully he's doing all right.
I hope he's okay because
the Lions are coming to town. I sure hope he's okay.
True. Good point. Leif Erikson's had a great season.
That's why I can't believe he's disappeared. I sincerely, I hope and pray the guy's all right. I don't know him, but we loved having him on. He was here virtually every single day, and we just not heard from him lately.
He's busy with Meade.
All right, boys. look, I mentioned the I think it was Paul Daner Jr. who put it out on The Athletic about a surprise to the injured list you have to put out every single week. The T. Higgins with a hamstring and Sam Hubbard with a calf injury. You got to hope those guys are okay. They are obviously two very important parts of this football team.
Well, we haven't really heard a whole lot about either one of them being hurt, so hopefully this is just something that they're
yeah, maybe it's just precautionary, but I really hope that there's nothing seriously wrong there.
The second line of this article says, while it doesn't sound like a big ordeal. Thank you, Chris.
Chris Rowling.
I can't read that. Who wrote that?
Chris Rowling.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
He says it doesn't sound like a big ordeal, but both wideout T. Higgins and defensive end Sam Hubbard appeared on the report for the first time.
Yep.
They were both listed as limited. Hamstring for Higgins, Hubbard calf. Hayden Hurst out this week.
Yep. Might be out more than 1 week.
Yes. I would imagine that this isn't actually I think it's precautionary. I think it's just kind of like a veteran rest day for both those guys. But
Well, it would say rest, wouldn't it?
yeah, I don't know.
The league, look, there are ways to circumvent all that kind of thing, but the league is very particular about making sure these things are posted and they're legit. Now, I mean, how much investigating do they do? I don't know. There was a time, I think, Bill Belichick, just to kind of rub it in the league's face, he'd put like 20 guys on the list every week. And but the Bengals have not been known to do that. So there has to be something there, or they would not have put them on. And those are the kinds of injuries. And again, we don't know how serious it is, but those are the kinds of injuries that, one bad step, and all of a sudden, it's a lot worse. Hamstrings, groins, ankles, calves. That's what Hayden Hurst is out with, a calf injury.
Yeah. Yep. And let's just talk about if those two are actually out. Like, that's a huge blow to the Bengals. I mean,
huge, because they got to slow down that run game. You start with Hubbard, who has just had an outstanding season. I mean, he's just an excellent player. Is he the best pass rusher in the world? No. He's smart. He plays hard. He plays with passion. He does his job in the run game. He'll occasionally get to the quarterback. He's as important as anybody there is on his defense.
Yeah, and we already saw what it was like without Chase against the Browns. So if you lose Higgins, it's virtually – I'm not going to say it's like a one-for-one sort of deal. You're going to get the same outcome. But, I mean, you're losing your second-best guy on the receiver group. So, I mean, you can't understate that. And without Hayden Hurst, that's a tough challenge.
Yep.
Very tough.
But we're going to get to the picks later. We'll find out just how confident Casey is. He said for months now that the Brownies stink.
We just bought tickets.
This is a big game for the Browns. They're not out of this thing yet.
He's going.
I'm going.
Are you?
Yeah, my best man bought 2 tickets. We're going to be sitting west side, west end zone.
Yep.
And section 228, I think.
Yeah.
So
it's a good spot.
Yeah. Well, I like sitting in the end zone.
Yeah.
I like getting a different angle than what you would get in the broadcast.
Yep.
So.
Yep. That's going to be fun down there on Sunday. And then the Bengals, of course, this is back-to-back home games, have the big win against Kansas City, and then back-to-back huge road games coming up with first New England. No, first Tampa, then New England, right?
Are we all taking a Chatterbox trip down to Tampa?
I think we were working on chartering a flight.
Okay.
Trace was on that, I think.
Well, that was the last update I heard, too.
Yeah.
The Tracer, right? He's going to get us first class.
Oh, you're talking about Tracy Jones?
Yeah, he's going to get us.
I was talking about Trace Fowler.
Oh, well.
Don't sound so disappointed.
Tracy Jones is on his way right now, if I'm not mistaken, if I heard him right. He's on his way to L.A., right? He just went out there and back. He told us yesterday he's going out there and back again. And then he's getting on a train and taking it across the country with his wife to go to Southern California a third time within about a 2-week time frame.
It's crazy. Good for him.
Good for him.
He deserves the break.
Good for him.
He works so hard.
He does. Hard-working guy. Very hard-working guy. All right, we got the Crosstown Shootout coming out tomorrow. That is a 3P tip. No doubt, Paul, you're there.
I will be there.
Okay. UC and Xavier. Xavier favored in the game. Last check, you thought it was what, 4.5?
Yeah, the line hasn't come out yet. I'm guessing it'll be somewhere in the 4.5 range.
What do you mean the line hasn't come out yet?
College basketball lines don't come out till 18 hours before the game tips.
That's a rule?
Not a rule, but it's almost always like
Okay.
you only get the day of.
All right, we're going to pay a lot of attention to the Crosstown Shootout on the program today. Two former greats from their respective schools. Terry Nelson will join us. He handles a radio color analyst job, sitting alongside Dan Horde for each and every UC basketball game. He played on a Final Four team, played on an Elite Eight team back-to-back years under Bob Huggins. And he was a guy you may remember. We'll talk to him about it today that came out in the press the week of the Xavier game when he was at UC and said, we're going to kill these guys and beat them by 20.
Yeah. Terry's great. Both these guys that we're having on today. Terry's great. He's coming up here in a few minutes, and then Steve at 11.
Yep, Steve Wolf. We talked about legendary family, sports family, community-minded family, great family.
Yeah,
the Wolves.
Steve's dad actually just passed away this past week. Adam Baum wrote a great article in the Cincinnati Enquirer if anybody wants to check that out. His dad was a great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy.
They're all great guys.
Yeah.
I see Marty more than I see Steve, but yeah, great family. And, of course, he was an excellent player at Xavier. He does a lot of television work now. See him a little bit everywhere, right, on TV?
Yeah.
Or is he just exclusively with somebody?
CBS Sports Network is who he does his games for.
Okay.
And he does mostly like Midwest stuff. But he's been kind of all over the place. He did – it was funny. He did a game at Colorado State last year. Do you remember, Tom, the game that went to triple overtime for Xavier against Providence when there was that leak on the floor? This was this past season. Xavier went to triple overtime with Providence.
Yep.
That game bled over into the next game on CBS Sports Network, and the triple overtime game took so long that the game that was after that, which was Colorado State, Steve was on that game. They didn't get to that game on CBS Sports Network till they were in the second half, 10 minutes left in the whole game because the Xavier game took so long.
Providence won that game, didn't they?
Providence did win that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great game.
Yeah, I tell you, of all the guys that I've met through the years in sports, one of the coolest guys I've ever met is that Providence coach.
Ed Cooley?
What a guy.
Awesome guy.
What a guy. I mean, gosh, what an awesome dude he is. He's a born and raised Providence guy. He's had chances to leave. I've never been to Providence, but I'm told it's not such a great place. I don't know.
I've never been to Providence.
Yeah, I don't know either. But anyway, he loves it there. That's his home. And he's had incredible commitment there. He's done a great job there. But you know, look, for all of you that root for the Muskies in the Big East, you know, naturally you root for the Muskies to beat Providence. But, man, if Providence plays anybody else, I'm rooting for them.
Oh,
In
absolutely.
that league, because he's such a good dude.
He is.
Yeah. Very colorful guy. He's a lot of fun. You know, he'll lay it out there in the line for you, tell you what's going on and what's not going on with his team. I did one of those games. It was an unbelievable game between those two teams. It wasn't triple overtime, but it was a fantastic game. And I think Providence beat him that time.
At Xavier?
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and look.
I think.
Would that have been 20?
That would have been 18 or 19.
I was going to say.
Somewhere in there.
Probably.
One of those 2 years.
Probably would have been 19. Providence won at Cintas. Yeah, 64-62.
Yeah.
You would have done that game.
Yeah, it was a last-second shot by that stud they had.
Oh, yes, I remember that game.
Yeah, it was a great game. That was a great game. Okay. What's everybody talking about here?
Also,
AJ wants to know, Paul, do you have a gambling problem?
Well, AJ's also the same. AJ's also the same person that a little higher up in the chat said that he lost a couple $100 on a game last weekend. So TCU. AJ was on the TCU game and he lost. So
okay.
It's calling me.
Somebody says that, Sir Boy Wonder says, who wants to go to Rhode Island? Now, I'm told there's some big league places in Rhode Island.
Yes.
Along the water.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so come on now, Sir Boy Wonder. Hold on. Hold on. AJ says that Providence is a dump. I don't know. Sir Boy Wonder says, I'd rather go to Alaska. Not me. And then Gary, who's new, says, my wife's nickname is Muskie. I like that. She's a fan.
Huge fan.
She's a fan. And she'll be dialed in tomorrow. All right, so we have Terry Nelson coming up. We've got Steve Wolf at 11. Terry Nelson is after a break here in a minute or two at 10:30. And then we will do our picks for the weekend. We don't have any college football picks. The whole bowl season kicks off next week. UC will play next Saturday. We do have one college pick this week, and that's the game. I mean, it's not Ohio State, Michigan. The game is tomorrow. Army v. Navy. And all of those young men are leaders of men. Each and every one of them. Each and every one of them. Got a couple kids in our neighborhood that are trying to get into the military academies. Did you try to get in one of those, Casey?
I did not.
You did not?
No.
Paul?
You strike me as somebody, Casey, that would have tried to get into.
Yeah. I could see him in the Coast Guard.
The Coast Guard.
I mean, look at him with the beard going.
Merchant Marine Academy?
Yeah, Merchant Marine Academy. So I could see that. He's got the red beard going kind of thing there.
I had no interest in joining any of our military branches, unfortunately.
Oh, man, Casey.
Sir Boy Wonder says Casey could have been a wonderful general.
Oh, yes. Leader of men?
Could have been. Could have been. Could have been.
I decided to go the ham and egg path.
Now you're sitting next to me.
How about you, Paul? Did you apply to one of the academies?
I did not. Xavier was actually the only school I applied to at all.
Speaks volumes about Xavier.
Oh.
Boy. And then there's Brandon Sejo. Brandon, did you think about any of the military academies coming out of La Salle High School?
Do I look like somebody that would?
Why not? I don't know if you could say anybody looks like they're, now.
I'm as soft as they come.
What's that?
I'm as soft as
Soft.
they come.
Okay, soft. Okay. All right. Well, there's no – well, actually, with the military going woke here in the last year and a half or so, maybe there is some soft creeping in. But by and large, not – no. These are true leaders, men and women, in the United States military.
Reed Mouse. I came home hungover one night, and my dad told me I needed to enlist in the Marines.
I wish I would have done military service. I truly believe that it should be mandatory in this country, and some of you are going to be like, you're out of your mind. But I really think it would be good for each and every one of us, rich, poor, black, white, green. You come out of high school, 2 years in the military, and then go do what you want to do. I really believe that. I think it'd be good for getting your act together, growing up, camaraderie, friendship, team building, all those kinds of things. Yeah, or you can go join a fraternity. We're back with Terry Nelson in a minute.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time, and if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
also when I lost in Anaheim, my dad was at the game, and my dad was down and out and sad. And see, back then the older generation, a lot of times they would use negative motivation as like you can't do this, or hey man, you won't do that. Where nowadays you can't use negative motivation, to the young kids, because a lot of them will just sit out on you and quit. You know what I mean? So my dad, never forget, and I've told people this. He told me, he said, son, I don't know if you'll ever win one, a pennant or not. We didn't win it that year in San Francisco because we had them down. You know what I mean? And he says, I don't know if you'll ever win one, after this. And that's the first thing that I thought about, was say, hey, Dad, you're wrong again. I mean, I swear that's the first thing I thought about. Dad, you're wrong.
Everybody wants to say, Dad, you're wrong, right? There's two. We say it all the time. I mean, that's a guaranteed smile every single time. Dusty Baker, man. Here's a guy makes a lot of people smile whenever they're around him. Man, we go way back, Terry Nelson. I can't believe you got that gray in the beard, man. I remember you were some strapping cat coming out of California and showing up with Blunt and Van Exel and, that whole bunch, and Herb Jones. And, boy, it's hard to believe it's been that long ago, isn't it?
I feel it in my knees, so it's not that hard to believe, brother. Knees. It's been, 31 years, 32 years now.
And you guys had, what was it, the 30th reunion of that team a year or two ago, something like that? You all got back together here in town. Is that right?
It was actually during homecoming. It was in October. So we had our 30-year. They brought back for the Final Four team and the Elite Eight team. So the 91-92 team, the 92-93 team, Wes Miller, one in the university, brought us all back in, flew in everybody and their families, including Coach Huggins, and had a great time.
All right, look, the story has grown through the years. The legend of you come in, great teams, and now here comes a crosstown shootout, and you guarantee this is going to be a tail kicking. Walk us through that story of what really happened when you went on the record and made that prediction. How did that all happen?
So I think we just beat UAB or something. So, and all the other teammates used to run out the back door because they didn't want anybody to see all the women that they had left tickets for. So they used to always send me, because I had the mouthpiece, they would send me in front of the camera to do all the interviews. And so I was walking out the back, just coming from the media session, and Bill Cook got me in the hallway, and he was like, so he interviewed me about the previous game, and he said, so what do you think about the crosstown shootout? And I'm like, look, man, seriously? Where I'm from Long Beach, California, where I'm from, crosstown shootout, a rival gang members going at it. I said, blow them out. They don't have a chance. Like, because we played them all summer. They came to our gym. We went to their gym. I didn't think anything of it. I was just, tongue in cheek. I've been known to pop off a little bit. So I get back first thing in the morning. I had no idea that, we had a week break just like we have now. So I didn't know the build up for it because I didn't know anything about it. So first thing in the morning, it's like 7 in the morning. Q102 calls me, and they're like, hey, Terry, hey, I want to talk to you about the crosstown shootout. I hear you say Jay that doesn't have a chance. And I'm like, yeah, they don't have a chance. We should blow them out by 20. Crosstown shootout. This gang member was going at. I'm talking about this. Hang up the phone, because there was no two-way calling in the dorms back in 1991. Some dorm phones. Hang up the phone. 700 WLW. Somebody called me. Hang up the phone. The whiz. It was 7 in a row. And they were just waiting to get, I don't know how they got my number, but they were calling back to back to back. And I'm sitting in the bed like, I could do this all day. Man, this is something else. Phone again, I pick up the phone. I'm like, hello, get your ass in my office. I'm like, what? Hugs? He goes, so I'm throwing on clothes. I walk over to the office, and Betsy Maidens, who's our secretary at the time, she's laughing so hard she couldn't even talk to me. She's just pointing in the back, like, just go to his office, go to his office. So I go to his office. His office is either open or the door is closed. But he had a door stopper in it this time. And so I walk in there, and he's got a newspaper up. And so I'm like, you want to see me? He goes, sit your ass down and be quiet. I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting there, and 5 minutes go by. And he's like flipping the newspaper and going through it. He kept going. And I'm like, and I look in the front page of the paper. At the top section, it says Nelson predicts blowout. Xavier doesn't have a chance. And I'm like, oh, and he puts his newspaper down and he's got glasses on. Now, anybody knows the whole story. He used to have, before he got LASIK surgery, he used to wear contacts. And he'd be up all night, having cold ones, shutting down some establishment, and then talking basketball, going back, watching video, till 5, 6 in the morning. And then when he comes in, his eyes are too irritated to put contacts on. So he wears at that point, you got to have your best practice. You got to be on P's and Q's because he's a type A and he is ready to be set off like a linchpin. How does somebody who averaged 3 points and 2 rebounds have the audacity to think that he's going to make a difference in this game? Why would you pop off like that and give them billboard material? I said, Coach, I had no idea I'm being recorded. He goes, are you that stupid? You can't be that dumb. No. He said, I'll see you at practice today. So we walk into practice and they have all of these tripods, 5, 12, 19, 9, Star 64. They're all in there and they're all in their stations. And so everybody's walking around. Hugs and I happened to walk in at the same time, coming from 2 different places. And we walked by Nick Van Exel at the same time. And Ken Brew was asking Nick Van Exel, what do you think about Terry's quote that, Xavier doesn't have a chance? You guys should blow him out by 20. And Nick goes, yeah, I agree because their big men are soft. And Hugs hears it. He just goes crazy. He goes, I said, everybody get the F out. He kicked the media out. Get out of here. Get out. So everybody gets out. So we start practice off by running 20 suicides. And after about 10 of them, Nick said, man, you paranoid. We're going to kick their butt. He goes, I'm paranoid. Get the F out of here. So he kicks Nick out of practice. Now, T, I don't know if you've ever seen or heard of anybody get kicked out of practice, but when you get kicked out of practice, you're supposed to go to the locker room.
Yep.
Sit there with your tail between your legs. Coach Steve Moeller would come in there and talk to you, bring you back out, and you're supposed to be all nice and humble, ready to be coached. He goes into the locker room, Steve Moeller does, comes back out. He goes, I don't know where he is. And Huz goes, well, if you don't find him, you better find another job. So he was looking for him, comes back 5 minutes later. Nick's got his jersey on backwards, eating a hot dog. And we're all like trying not to laugh. We're covering our mouths. We're laughing hard. And Hugs is sitting there and puts his practice schedule under his arm. And he said, what the hell are you doing? He said, Hugs, I don't play that. You kick me out. I ain't sticking around. He said, you paranoid. He goes, okay. So I'm paranoid, huh? 5 minutes into practice, Corey twists his ankle, had to be carted off. He goes, and you think their big men are soft? Look at our 6'10" stud being carted off like a slab of meat. At that point, he just says, coach yourself. So for the first hour of practice, Anthony Buford grabbed the practice schedule, said, come on, man, let's go. So every drill we're doing, we're clapping it up. We're like, yeah, let's go. Like we're making them mad because we're hitting shots and we're having lots of energy. And then so he goes, okay. So the game comes. And we start out, we blitz them bad. They're trying to press us. We throwing over the press. We're getting dunks. And we end up beating them on the road in their place by 18. And after we did the handshake line, he walks out. We're walking to the locker room. He puts his arm around me. He goes, all right, why don't you retire 1-0 as a prophet?
That is awesome. That is a great story. That is, yeah, and I was around back when I was doing the games when all you guys were there. I was witness to many, many times where either individuals or the team collectively was thrown out, sent back to the locker room, and sooner or later everybody would be back out there. I don't know if you saw any of, probably didn't. We had Hugs on the show last week for about an hour. And, what you guys had going on there was, look, I know the national championship stuff and playing in the finals back in the early 60s and all that kind of thing. But, man, those were 2 really special teams with a lot of great characters who had a lot of great character and toughness about them.
We come from different backgrounds, and we were last chance students. The documentary Last Chance U, we were at where bunch of JUCO guys, bunch of guys that transferred. Anthony Buford came with Bob Huggins. Herb Jones was a junior college player of the year, national junior college player of the year. Corey Blunt was a national junior college player of the year. Corey, Eric, and I came from California. We were the 3 best players in California. And none of the UC schools, UCLA, USC, they didn't take JUCO players. And so we were just looking to play together. And so we picked Cincinnati. So we came together, and then we brought Nick Van Exel in. And Nick Van Exel came in the day that we got there. One of the funniest things I've ever seen. He was coming with his cousin, and he had a hatchback. And I'm like, there he is. So we're standing all outside of Daniels Hall waiting on him. Like, all the teammates are sitting together. And he pulls up in a hatchback, opens the hatchback, and it's just littered with clothes. I mean, it's no hangers, it's no bags, it's no suitcases. It's just clothes in the back. And we're grabbing the clothes, we're putting them in trash bags and grabbing our arms. And he has this television that he's bringing into the dorms, and it's still got a hanger in it with aluminum foil on the tips of it for the I mean, meager beginnings, but we instantly hit it off. We instantly had chemistry, and because we could not go anywhere, we were literally the last chance university for us.
Yeah.
Coach us as hard as he wanted. He could say whatever he wanted. He can do whatever he wanted, and we could not leave if we wanted to play. And that just turned us into, the men that we wanted to be, because we were all 22 and 23 years old, most of it. So we had been around the horn, and now he's telling us that, wherever we go, he's creating this mentality like the fans are going to get you, like we're playing Miami University. And right before we're about to do Miami University, he goes, it's halftime. He goes, man, you're going to let guys with circle driveways and Mercedes and BMWs kick your like this, and you guys don't even have cars, and they're over here kicking your butt. You're going to let them do that? Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm curious. I asked Hugs this, and Terry, now in your role as the analyst on the games on the radio alongside Dan Horde, I asked Hugs, are kids different today? You just explained your journey and the other guys who came along with you, junior college, whatever it might be. But I guess I'm speaking more specifically now about high school kids. And I asked Hugs, do kids still really want to be coached and coached hard, really hard? I asked Wes Miller this 2 days ago when we had him on the program. He says he thinks they do. I got kids in high school, daughter in college. A lot of the ones I'm around, and we're in those circular driveways, so maybe, it is what it is. But how many kids out there, or do you think the kid today wants to be coached, can be coached, is okay with being coached the way Hugs coached you?
Depends on the guy that you bring in and the background that they come from. Some households, they're just used to a mother or a father yelling and screaming. So when you got a coach that yells and screams, doesn't bother them whatsoever. They can take it. But if you got the modern day son who is about self-esteem and, the parents lifting them up and they're bouncing around from AAU team to AAU team and high school team to high school team because they want a certain situation for their child, then they may not be ready to be coached like that. Now, Wes Miller coaches hard, but he doesn't have to curse at them. I mean, you can coach hard. Hard coaching has become synonymous with, cursing the kid out, demeaning him, doing all that stuff. No, that kind of stuff is not it. Not with the portal. Not in this day and age. You cannot do that because they would just bounce around. They would just leave you, and don't even wait till the end of the season. They would just shut out. So you won't last as a college coach with that kind of demeaning and that kind of tearing down, especially if they don't trust you, if they don't think that you are doing it for the best interest, if they only see it as you need to win to keep your job, then they'll leave. But if you've established rapport, if you're constantly on the phone with your guys and doing things and your team bonding and they know where your heart is, then they'll take you giving them some stiff and tough criticism that can change their behavior, because discipline is just training to elicit a certain pattern of response or behavior. So discipline doesn't always have to be, something verbal lashing that just strips you of your humanity. Discipline or hard coaching can be anything that changes your behavior. And yes, you can still do that.
All right, let's talk about the shootout tomorrow. You've seen every second of every game UC has played so far this season. Before we get into some of the shortcomings, tell me how you see, what are the strengths through 9 games of this UC team?
The strength is the spacing and their ability to create for each other. They got 3-point shooting, and the way the offense is structured, it's constant movement. So it's not one guy holding the ball and everybody else standing. Now, DeJulius is going to be the creator in the offense because coach wants him to be able to create and get other guys shots. But that ball goes from right to left. The bigs move off the block. Nobody is standing on the block. So the free-flowing offense allows this team to score, nearly 80 points per game, which is up from previous eras where we couldn't, sometimes we didn't even reach 80. So these guys, the offense is there. Another one of our strengths is the ability to come from large deficits because of the free-flowing offense and the fact that we can get stops. Defensively, the problem that I think Cincinnati will come up against is rim protection. They don't have the big 6'10" shot blockers. They don't have the 7-foot shot blockers like they had in the past. Guys that can erase some of the mistakes of, guys going for steals on the block and don't get it. And all of a sudden out of the weak side, somebody comes and just mats it off the glass. So they have to do it with length. They have to do it with, fighting through screens and closing out. So their initial defense has been much better over the couple weeks. And it's really been elite to watch them shut down three-point shooting teams because how they fight through screens. So that's one of their strengths, is that they can really scramble defensively and find a way. It's just that when that ball gets down low, if they stay out of foul trouble by playing solid, defense is one of their core strengths.
All right, weaknesses. You talked about not having the big man who can, erase mistakes. Somebody comes into the lane, shot blocker, intimidation kind of guy, all those kinds of things. Xavier does have a couple of big guys that can play. There's no debate about that, and Fremantle likes banging around. What do you see as a couple of the determining factors between winning and losing in the game tomorrow?
Being able to control the paint, giving them one shot, making it tough as defenders in the post, because they're going to play big. They're going to post. They're going to post their guards. They're going to post their bigs, and they're going to try to win the game by chipping away. If it was football, they're going to try to win the game by running the ball and making you, load the box. Same thing. So, same thing with basketball. They're going to post their guards. They're going to post their bigs. They're going to play pick and roll to where the roll guy is, either posting on a mismatch or the kickouts. So if we can defend the post, if we can push guys off the block, make them shoot uncomfortable shots. Like if a guy likes to shoot from, 8 feet away, the middle of the circle over his left shoulder, a jump hook, you want to push him off to about 10, 12 feet and take away the jump hook and make him shoot a turnaround jump shot. Sounds simple, but if you shoot a turnaround jump shot, it pulls you out of rebound position. Easier to box out. He'll miss the shot, take his vision away, and they'll think that they just had a bad shooting night. They don't realize that you've taken away their number one option, and most post guys don't really have a counter that they go to. So they're either dunkers or they're jump hook guys. So if you can push them off the block, beat them down the floor, because Xavier does a lot of rim runs. With Fremantle and Nungy, they run the floor and they seal you at the free throw line. They grab you and they just sort of ride that to the post, and they get early transition offense. So if you can eliminate the post touches where they're just catching and scoring uncontested, they got a real chance of winning this game.
All right. Well, hey, look, you're there for each and every game. Terry, it's such a pleasure. Can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us this week. Love to have you back on the program. Check in from time to time on what's happening with UC, and it's great to see you as always.
You know what? I was wanting to say something. You said something about, before this my segment, you said that every kid should have 2 years in the military.
Yeah.
Yes. In North Korea, they make you have 7 years.
Well, I know, but I don't want to be North Korea. But you and I are on the same page, and I'm curious, Terry. We talked about this with Hugs last week. A lot of people don't want to talk about this topic, but you're never a guy to shy away from it. I mean, I went back and started digging up, because Hugs, in many cases, not all cases, it's unfair to say all cases, but in some cases, or a number of cases, he becomes like a father to a lot of the players that he brings in there and recruits, not only while he has them there as a player and as a coach, but through the rest of their lives. And, I went in and started digging into some statistics about, African-American kids that are born in this country. 67% of them are being born into a single-parent household. In the inner city, that number is up over 80%. And I asked him, sort of the challenge of not only being a coach, but a dad. And I think the military, and it's the only reason I say that, and I think it would be good for a white kid in the suburbs whose mom and dad are together, to bring those people together. Because where's a guy like you from Long Beach and a guy like me from Cincinnati, unless we're both basketball players, where are we ever going to come together to be a team, right? And the military is the team.
Yeah. Yeah, and it forces you to have discipline and a routine. There's so much power in routine. And when you come out of disenfranchised situations where you don't have a father in the household, I didn't have a father in the household, and you kind of go out and you're doing stuff. So you if you're involved in sports gives you that sense of camaraderie. And some of my best friends come from all these different backgrounds that you talked about in sports. Well, in military, there's a set time you get up. There's unexpected times you get up. There's training. There's different things to work on, response times, all that stuff that a person would need to go into college. Think about how many people go to college out of high school and then leave college, flunk out, or don't even finish because they really don't know what they want to do. So they end up wasting money, getting loans and doing different things because they don't know what they want to do. 2 years in the military, I kind of like the way you're going with that. It gives them a sense of focus. They realize, I don't really like the military. I want to do this. Then focus life.
That's right. That's right. Well, Terry, you're one of the all-time greats, man. And good luck tomorrow on the broadcast. Have fun down there. You're not making any predictions on this one, are you?
Sir, nope. You ain't getting me in trouble. No. I only want the predictions on the games that I can have an outcome on.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Terry, great seeing you, man. Thanks for the time today.
Yep.
Terry Nelson. How great is that dude? Great storyteller.
I mean,
Such an articulate kid. I mean, he was the second he walked in UC. I was there when he walked in for his first practice. He's got that it thing. You know what I mean?
So do you remember this story then when he –
I was announcing the games when this happened. I mean, you know, it's hard to imagine for a lot of the younger people, your guys' age, for example. It's hard to imagine, and you just heard him make reference to he's got this phone in his dorm room. Okay, there were no cell phones. There were no computers. There was no internet. There was none of this kind of stuff. So the newspaper is where you got all your information. And really the only place you got your information, unless you were on the inside or something. But when he made that prediction, I mean, well, you heard all the radio stations are calling him. Hugs is calling him, getting him out of bed and get your tail down to my office right now and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, Hugs didn't mind that. Hugs didn't mind that. What he did mind was Corey Blunt getting hurt in that practice. Because now all of a sudden, I remember that. I don't remember him getting carted off, but I remember him injuring the ankle, and you're like, oh, boy. I mean, here Nelson has made this prediction, and, boy, you talk about an eraser in the middle. Boy, Corey Blunt was that. What a player that guy. I mean, hell, he played, 12, 14 years in the NBA? Wow. Something like that. He had a long career, really good career. Played on his great Chicago Bulls teams. Yeah, that was just such a fun bunch. Anthony Buford, the toughness and the edge. He was basically Huggins on the floor. Herb Jones, as quiet as a day is long, and he was the quintessential silent assassin. What a player. Eric Martin, Nelson, and then Van Exel. That guy, man, was he a player. And you talk about a guy that had a great NBA career. He's a coach now in the NBA, right? Van Exel? He's been an assistant for a long time, but he may have gone somewhere in like that B League or something to be a head coach. Where is he now?
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Brandon might know.
Well, he was with Memphis.
He's an assistant for the Hawks, I think. Let me look it up. I think he's in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, he has aspirations on being a head coach.
Yeah, he is.
And I can promise you he would be a really good head coach.
Well, that's who Cincinnati, a segment of the Cincinnati fan base wanted. When
he interviewed for the job, right?
I don't think he did. Did he? Brandon, I don't remember.
I can't remember whether it was him or Eric Martin, I think, interviewed for the job.
I was going to say, I don't think Van Exel ever got an interview.
Eric's been with Hugs for forever.
Yeah.
All right, that's the UC side of things, although I don't really think, Terry, by any stretch of the imagination, was sitting there pro-UC and blah, 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 blah. He told us straight down the middle. about their team and their strengths and their weaknesses and how he would try to counter. And, Paul, you see every game.
Yeah.
He's spot on there, right, about Xavier's team?
Yeah, he absolutely is. The strength for Xavier tomorrow is going to have to be in the post because outside of Victor Locken, there's just not a lot of depth for this UC team down low. And they're not getting anything out of Okwama. They're not really getting anything out of Ezikpe. So if Locken gets into foul trouble, then what do you do in the post? So, yeah, Terry, spot on. As you would expect.
Yeah. I wanted to ask him about those flashing lights in his room. My son has those things in his room.
LED?
Yeah. He had it going on there. We talking about Pawnee?
Yep.
It's best tasting water in the world. I don't know what else to tell you. I talked with the guys that own the joint, started it up, former Procter & Gamble guys, researchers, scientists. And they've come up with this new water, Pawnee, P-A-H-H-N-I. Go to PawneeWater, PAHHNI.com. It's the best tasting water in the world. I'm not kidding you. They were nice enough to bring a whole bunch over. Casey, I know you're a big fan.
Big fan.
And, Paul, you've been dialed in on it as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually was having a conversation with somebody about Pawnee water the other day because somebody was kind of dismissing the fact that water could be different, and I said that's just such an outrageous take because there's a reason when you go to Kroger and you see one brand of water has every bottle filled, there's pallets of that water, and then you go to another brand and that brand is sold out.
Yeah, they use different minerals. It has a different taste.
It does. And their filtration system is different than most of the stuff that's out there that's in bottled water these days. And so I would highly recommend you go to PawneeWater.com, check out what stores you can find their product. I'm hoping for these guys because they are two of the nicest guys in the world that started this company, and they're right here in downtown Hamilton. And, I'm hoping that the UDFs and the Krogers and whoever else out there, I'm hoping they'll start putting that in their stores.
I think we have Steve here if you want to.
Oh, boy. Traveling man. Thankfully, he is not dry. Oh, my gosh. Now, there is the much high low. There's the much more pleasant side of the Wolf family. Where are you guys going?
We're going to go see our son in Madison. He's got his banquet tonight. And then we're going to go say hi to, for all the UC fans, we're going to go say hi to Coach Fickle, I think.
Are you really?
He's obviously the new coach, so I don't know if we'll see him. I don't know if he'll be at the banquet. You know, you have these change of coaches, and you're not sure what's going on. So, I am so glad when Paul said, come on with TV. I was excited. I'm so proud of you, man. And I talked to your dad quite a bit, and I've told so many people that I love the fact that, you're great at what you do. You're a great broadcaster, but I think you're a better person. I think you do a great job raising your kids, and I'm just really proud of you.
Thank you for that, Steve. I really, really mean that, and I adore your wife and have known her almost as long as I've known you. But, speaking of being proud, I want to ask you about your son a second, because for those who don't know, your son played quarterback at Wisconsin. There was a time there he was a starter, and then he was no longer the starter. In this day and age, 90+% of the time, a young man who's in that situation, they're going to say, hey, look, I'm transferring out. I want to go somewhere to go play. And look, God bless them all if that's the way they feel. But he decided to stay there in Madison. I know he got in there at the end of the year and finally had a chance to play again. But what was that journey like for a mom and dad and your son going through all that?
Well, this year was tough because I don't know if you knew, but right the day before the season actually started, he blew his knee out.
Yeah.
So he didn't play at all. And, I listened to the announcer, somebody saying, he didn't throw a pass. Well, yeah, he was on crutches. He couldn't throw a pass. But you know how preparation is for some analysts. But anyway, he had to fight through that. Chase has always been his own man. He is one of those guys that in high school, the recruiters all talked about him. You need to leave. You need to transfer out of St. X because you're going to be behind Sean Clifford and you're not going to play. And he said, well, Dad, I'm learning from Sean Clifford, and I think one day I'll be able to compete with him. Well, Sean got hurt Chase's junior year, and then Sean came back. Chase still played, and at the end of the year, Chase ended up taking over for Sean and starting in the playoffs, and the scholarships came. So he stuck to his guns. And in our family, not just Jeannie and my family, but our family in general, my father and my mother were all about loyalty. And it's so important that if you believe in something, stick with it. If you believe in the guys, stick with it. Chase, after his sophomore year, had a myriad of coaches that contacted Tony Pike and said, hey, what do you want to do? So I threw it out to Chase. And I said, what do you want to do? And he goes, give me a day, Dad, and then I'll let you know. The next day he calls me on the phone, and he said, when I was getting recruited, I didn't have a favorite school. The only school I loved was Xavier because of basketball. And that was obviously because I went there and played there. But he didn't have a favorite school. And he goes, Dad, this now is my favorite school. This is my dream school. And I love the guys, and I believe I can compete. And I think that he felt the same way we did. He never complained, but I felt like he really didn't get that shot. But at the end of the day, that's life. I mean, of all people, you can understand unfair things. It's happened to all of us. And how do you prepare yourself? How do you come back and be the better version of yourself after you've gone through this thing? So it was a blessing for him to understand that everything's not going to work out and everything's not fair. But he was actually done. He was not going to play next year. And so Coach Fickle, they talked back and forth, and I think Coach said, hey, if you want to come back, I'd love to have you. And I think Chase is mulling that over, so he may come back.
Wow.
Next year. Because he does, he sat out, he had a redshirt year, and then he had a year where he hurt his knee, so he didn't play at all. But we'll see. We'll see how the knee is in the bowl game. He came back a month and a half early off the surgery so he could play. And, it's not easy. But we are so proud of him. But, he's got an older sister, Sabrina, who stuck it out at UC and played volleyball at UC. He's got a younger sister, Stevie, who's, started every game at Xavier University in volleyball. And then his youngest sister, Shay, is going to play beach volleyball at FAU, and she blew her knee out last year. So family, helps family. And, we rally around each other, and I think that Chase is a benefactor of great siblings, and we haven't screwed him up too much as parents.
Steve, your father passed recently, and our thoughts and prayers are with you and your entire family. And I know that Paul was talking a few minutes ago about the article that was written about your dad, and I was talking about your family name. And look, I know there's Barry Larkin and Byron Larkin, all that, and Mike Larkin, and all that kind of thing. I get it. But if you're just talking about the scope of all sports, whether it's volleyball or soccer or tennis or basketball or football, whatever it might be, boys and girls through high school, your family, it is amazing. And I call you guys the first family of Cincinnati sports family. It's not even close. Was there something in your grandparents and your parents, your aunts and uncles, whatever it was, that was sort of an always flowing piece of advice? What was it?
Well, it's very similar on a smaller level number-wise, but a bigger level nationwide, it's you and your dad. When we grew up, my dad got out of coaching because he had 5 kids and ready to have a 6th, and he just didn't feel like he could spend the time that he wanted to with the kids and be a coach. Being a professional athlete, being a professional coach, it's not the same as a normal citizen. There's too many things that go on. You see too many things, and you're not around. So my dad made a commitment to quit coaching. At that point in time, my dad had all these nice, basketball pants, like, coaching pants that had Charlie Wolf, Detroit Pistons coach on them. My dad asked my mom to put a patch over him so that he was dad, not coach. And he coached all of us. And we had what we needed, not what we wanted. We lived in Kentucky. Actually, our next door neighbor for my 18 years there was a guy named Jim Volpenheim, who you know very well.
Very well,
So
yeah.
Jim and I shared our driveway and their side yard were there. And it was a nice neighborhood because my dad had a no-interest loan from the Royals. So we were able to stay there. But my dad helped start Mike Albert Leasing and get that company up and running. But we had what we needed, not what we wanted. We always had great gym shoes. But my mom made our tennis clothes. So everything we did it as a family. So if we went out and played basketball, the rule was, because we had a full court in our backyard, the rule was, and I don't care how many neighbors are there wanting to play, that the younger ones got in. And that was didn't make Marty happy when I was playing 2.5 years younger than him. He didn't like that when I was playing with his buddies. And I didn't like it when Greg was playing with my buddies. And it went all the way down, but we had to play. And my mom was the one who would come out and be the referee. Hey, you talk that way, you're out of here. But we did everything as a family. The things that have changed, and they've changed a ton. Jeannie and I decided to merge our families and their backgrounds. You know, they traveled, they did different things. They were very intelligent, they were artsy. My family was athletic, and so we merged those things, but they both were very similar because we spent time with our children. You know, we were active. I always say that the nieces and nephews in our family and the great-grandchildren all thought Dad loved them the most, my dad. It's because he was invested. You know, he didn't just sit there and watch. I always tell people, if you're sitting there, kids are in the pool, and you're sitting there having a beer, it's your quality time, not theirs. So get your butt in the pool. My dad was always in the pool. And until the day he died, he was always about the grandkids. Now, there's 19 children on my dad's mom and dad's side of the family, and I want to say 14 have played Division I sports. From football, Chase is the only one playing football. Obviously basketball, tennis, volleyball. There's a lot of volleyballs now in the latter part because Greg had 3 girls. One played tennis, college tennis, Division I, and the other 2 played volleyball. And then my 3 daughters played volleyball. They're all playing Division I, and it goes from there. But it was never a goal. The idea was not to get a scholarship. The idea, as I told Jeannie, I just wanted to play a high school sport. So everything we did, every sporting event we did was because of family. And people don't understand that. So when you read Adam Baum's article, and by the way, he is so good at what he does. Adam Baum is an unbelievable writer. And when my dad died at 3 a.m, I texted him. I said, hey, listen, I want an article about my dad. Not about how great he was as a coach, but I want it about him as a family man. Because the coaching part of it is just a small part of his eulogy. And all the grandkids, most of them don't even realize how good Dad was. Mm-hmm. And all the Hall of Fames he's in. Nobody cared because my dad didn't care. So to answer your point or your question is that, yes, there's a lot of kids doing stuff. The great-grandkids are doing stuff. And sometimes I think there's a little pressure to live up and say, well, as Shayna, she's playing beach volleyball at FAU. There's 6th in the country last year. But she blew her knee out. She was worried that she wasn't going to play Division I. And I said, who cares? I mean, you're going to play the sport you want, go where you want. Doesn't matter. But they all know it. So to be able to get, 4 kids through college with minimal to no payments is a blessing. But, they all support each other. And the one thing I will also tell you is we didn't have one video game in our house. Jeannie and I did not have a video game. We went to parks. We had keys to every gym that we could get into. After Christmas, we go up to St. Margaret, we throw football, then we shoot basketball, and then we hit tennis, then we played volleyball. That's what we did. Maybe we went to Fuddruckers once in a blue moon, but we didn't go out. We ate at home, Mom would cook, we'd go out and play sports. And they loved it. And then there's a certain time you say, okay, well, you want to be elite or do you want to be average? And the thing that I'll tell you is that every one of the kids that I think that goes and plays a sport and they really work their tail off, have a great opportunity to be a good husband, be a good friend, be a good employee, or be a good owner. And so that's the means to the end is the longevity of what sports does for you.
Walk me through, Steve, your favorite or most vivid moment. You've been asked this, I'm sure, 10,000, 100,000 times, but The crosstown shootout for Steve Wolf. You always think of what?
The first one. I was obviously one of your favorite teams back in the day, at least your daddy's. North Carolina State, I thought that was unbelievable. And the reason why I thought it was unbelievable is because for like 10 years, Xavier was irrelevant in the UC Xavier. It was just a game, that nobody really cared. And if you got 5,000 to the game, I would say 4,400 were from UC and at the Army Fieldhouse because of the guys that played. Those guys went to the NBA. Xavier didn't do anything. When I transferred back from North Carolina State to Xavier, that was Bob Stack's first thing. He goes, we're going to make this thing so special. And I'm like, well, we've lost the last 7 years. Half the guys on the team when I transferred back were not very good. More than half. I mean, we were not a good team. We didn't have good talent. And Bob Stack said, listen, we're going to get in the league and we're going to beat UC. And then we're going to be in the league. We're going to win the league. We're going to get to the NCAA tournament and we're going to beat UC. Always UC was in there. And Ed Badger was there, who I loved. Ed Badger, he was a great guy. And I'll tell you a story about Ed Badger and Bob Stack, the competition there. But we came back in the first year. We're playing, Bobby Austin there, Schlomer's there, Eddie Lee. They had a pretty darn good team. We had a losing record going into the game. And we go up by 9 with about, 50 seconds left. And Stack calls timeout. Now we're winning by 9. And this is before, the shot clock and everything else. So we had a pretty good idea we were going to win the game. Stack calls timeout, gets everybody together. The managers are sitting getting water. He goes, get all the managers over here. All the managers there. We're all in a huddle. And he looks around and he looks at every one of us. He goes, whatever it was, 47 seconds. 47 seconds left and we own this effing city. And I'll never forget it because he was so animated. I was like, no way. So we had a year of bragging rights. And Bob Stack's the one that brought that back.
Yeah.
And it was so fun. It was a great time. And I don't remember much about my college days, but I do remember that.
When you look at the rivalry now, I mean, you swing the pendulum the other way, and this is a game by and large over the last, 12, 15 years, where Xavier has more times than not won the game, more times than not had the better team, more times than not, quite frankly, had the better program over the last number of years. Sean Miller is back. What does it mean to have him back as a head coach at Xavier?
I'll give you the greatest line that I heard from a fan. I've always had a great deal of respect for Sean Miller. When all the stuff happened in Arizona, I said I want to talk to him before I reserve judgment until I talk to him. And I talked to him, and he talked about his family. And he talked about the first time here he was chasing the gold ring, like we all do. I want to get to the top. Arizona's the way I can do it. I don't want to drive a Buick. I want to drive a Cadillac. And I brought that up to him. He goes, you know what? Right now it's about my family. I love Xavier. It's what basketball's all about. It's in a basketball league. He was so adamant about why he came back. Instead of saying I'm coming back because you guys are in a rut and I can do so much better, it was more about the people. And I talked to one of my buddies who's a big Xavier fan. His name's Brian. And I said, what do you think? Because I was telling him what I thought would happen. He goes, you know what? There's nothing better than seeing Sean Miller when you're beating Bob Huggins' team and you're up by 10 and he's still not happy. And I said, that's so Sean, because he's always trying to get better. But to your point about us taking over the last couple of years, as I just told you, Cincinnati won 7 straight years and they played a bad Xavier team and we ended up winning. You cannot go into this game, especially right before you go into conference play, and you cannot lay an egg. And you have to be ready for it. And you're playing at Cincinnati. And forget about the Northern Kentucky loss, and forget about what everybody's talking about. Wes Miller is a great coach. I've known him since he was at North Carolina. He's good friends with my buddy Dino Gaudio, and his dad's a good friend of Dino's, and he knows how to coach. So, you can't rest on your laurels because you'll get bit. And I've seen it happen before to really good teams. As Andy McWilliams said, number 1 in the country, number 2 in the city. That's a game that, Lenny Brown and company should never have won, but they did.
Well, Steve, by saving all that cash you were saving up for your kids to go to college, I would have expected you and Jeannie, to be on some private plane or sitting in first class on a regular airline going all the way up to Wisconsin. But there you are. Where are you now? You're slugging through roughly where right now?
Right now we're close to Rockford, but we did retire 2 years ago. And we live actually in Siesta Key. So we live in Florida. Actually, we lived right near where your dad used to live at the Palm Bay Club. And so I'd see them walking out there, and we had a couple of beers at Captain Kirk's with Mr. Stewart.
Yep.
So we live there, and we're also living in Cincinnati. But, hey, when you retire and you think, man, now I got stability, as long as you have your health, you're in good shape. And as long as your kids are okay, you're in good shape. But life is good. I'm going to tell you a quick thing before we go, if you have a chance to have time. Talk about the competition with UC and XU. So Ed Badger was a heavy set guy. Bob Stack, if he hears this, he's going to call me and text me or whatever and give me grief. But he was a heavy set guy. And Stack was only 30 at that time when he was coaching me. And he would wear like a wrestler's rubber suit out there to practice. And, and all of us used to give him grief. Maybe not to his face at that point in time, but afterwards. And so he and Badger were friends, and they knew each other. And there's so much competition between Badger and Stack. And I would go up to Sereno's, and Willie'd be up there, and I'd sit down with Willie, and Steve Sylvester might be there, and Denny Jansen. I'd sit there and talk to those guys, and we'd hang out. And Ed Badger came in one night, and this is in the summertime, so I got my workout done at Schmidt Fieldhouse, and I drove up to Sereno's. I was going to my mom and dad's house afterwards. And I'm sitting there, and Ed Badger sits and talks with us, and we talked for like 2 hours. So the next day, I come into the O'Connor Sports Center. That's where Stack's office was, and I walked in, and he goes, "What's going on?" And I said, "Oh, I saw Coach Badger last night." And he looked at me like, you know how a dog, when he hears a whistle, his ears perked up. He looked over at me, and he goes, "Expletives. What did he say?" "What did he say?" I said, "Oh, nothing. We just talking." He goes, "No, whatever. Tell me what he said. What did he say? What did he say?" And he's just peppering me. And I'm like, "Coach, we were just talking." He goes, "Steve, I don't care what he said. Just tell me what he said." And I go, "Well, he thought you looked like you gained a little weight." And he looks and he goes, "That MF." He starts screaming and yelling and is sitting there, and he goes, "I'll get him on the phone. Debbie, get him on the phone." The secretary. But that's the kind of competition that Bob Stack had with anybody with Xavier. And you saw what Huggins' comment was when they asked about Xavier the other day. He goes, "Yeah, tell me something good about Xavier." Nothing good about Xavier, which I love. That's the way it should be.
No doubt about it. Steve, tilt the phone over. Let me say bye to Jeannie. Jeannie, love you. Hope you're doing great. Hope you're doing great. Boy, she had an age
You
today.
must be special. He never lets me drive.
I never let her drive, but she's driving because I'm like, I'm not doing this, and then get somebody calling me and tell me I'm being unsafe. So, hey,
now,
Tom,
she's not aged today since she was 22 years old, and here you are with that salt and pepper stuff like I got going. I mean, look at her. She looks exactly the same as she did in 30 years ago.
You know what? She does, and I she should look a lot older living with me. True. But maybe it's really a good life living with me, and that's why she looks so good. I'm not sure which one. I know which one she'll pick, but it's not the one I would pick.
That's exactly
But anyway, hey, I'll get with Paul. I'll get your number. Let's get out. I'd love to talk and see what's happening.
Absolutely.
And I'm so proud of you. Tell Paul I appreciate all of his good works. Tell him to keep it up because I keep an eye on him because we've talked many times in the past about the business. It's not the easiest business. It's not the best for the family, but hey, it's passion, and you gotta go with your passion.
Amen. All the best. Merry Christmas. God bless you and the Wolves, and have a good time up there in Madison. All right.
So much. Merry Christmas to you guys.
Okay, buddy.
See you, Tom.
See you, Jeannie. They're just. I mean, seriously, those two guests today. I mean, Nelson and Steve. They just doesn't get any better. I've known her. I mean, I knew who Steve was. I didn't know him, but I knew Jeannie we were all, roughly the same age and hanging out together. And when we were all in our early 20s, right out of college. And she is just awesome. She's been through a major bout with cancer. There was a time there, it was hit or miss. And thank the Lord above, she pulled through, and I hope their travels up there to Madison. That's a breaking story there about the possibility of him coming back, because his son's a good player, good quarterback. The injury this year, a chance to come back. Luke Fickell there. That would be an interesting conversation to hear that. Luke Fickell talking with Steve about Chase coming back.
Yeah, it would be. And I'm definitely going to keep an eye on Wisconsin now. Not that I wasn't going to already with Luke Fickell going there, but now I've got that connection.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Steve is elite.
Yeah.
Both guests.
No
elite
doubt.
show today.
No doubt. And thank Brandon. Thanks for getting Terry lined up. Paul, thank you for getting Steve lined up.
Absolutely.
Well, boys, we're knocking on the door for that time yet again. We start to separate the contenders from the pretenders. How about that?
I like it. Because obviously there's only 2 contenders here.
Oh, you got to rub it in. You got to rub it in. Got to get it turned around. We got a big bowl season coming up. So many opportunities to gain ground, but need to pick it up this weekend. So we have our picks. We have the Crosstown Shootout pick. We have the Army-Navy pick. And then we have a slate of National Football League games, including the Bengalis v. Brownies. Our picks are right around the corner. Stick around.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time. And if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Swinney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Swinney, the original used car superstore.
Beds in that room. There's 2 double beds.
Boy, your
in that
audience
room. Jim wants to know, said it kind of reminds me of Mr. and Mrs. Wilson on Dennis the Menace. There are a lot of people wondering, what's going on down there. Because you've been very hard on Danae on this program. I mean, you have worn her out when it comes to her choice of accommodations on places where you guys have been staying, whether it was down in Mexico. Right. I think you referred to that 6-star resort as a dump. And then you went on to say that the house you rented down on the Gulf side of Florida here the last couple of weeks was also a dump. Anything you want to share, or would you just rather stay away from that topic?
No, we were catching a situation. There's no doubt about it. But, Casey, this is what you have to look forward to when you're married for 13 years. You see that? No action, pulling no wool, and then going back, pulling no wool. So 13 years of marriage, that's what it gets you. 2 separate queen beds. And you know who Tucker slept with last night? Danae. I'm all by myself, and don't think I'm not going to go to that Taylor Swift concert and get me some phone numbers so I can get a Mrs. Jones number 3, because I will. I ain't messing around.
The Tracer. Twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11:30 a Eastern time until noon. The best hour of television, as he's on twice a week for 30 minutes. We have many new members, guests in the chat room, a lot of brand new members to our audience, and we thank you for being with us, whether you're online, in the chat room, you're just watching, you podcast, you download, whatever it might be. So for those of you brand new to the program, going all the way back to the start of the NFL and college football when this show launched, we decided we were going to do picks of college games and pro games. And at the end of the year, whoever had the best record, I would donate $1,000 to their favorite charity or my own charity, which I'll end up doing because I'm going to make a rally and win this thing. So this is what we do each and every week. Are we putting up the standings so far?
Absolutely. Got
where
right
we
here.
are going into the weekend.
Here's where we stand.
All right. So Paul has been aided, and really the only reason he's in first place is because of the 1 week where Trace Fowler subbed in for him. Brandon Sejo started on very shaky ground. Paul gained a lot of ground when Sejo walked out. And Trace really is the reason why Paul is 1 game better than Casey. I'm bringing up the bottom there, but a late season run is about to begin right now.
All right, here we go.
We're starting with
Army and Navy.
Navy.
I teased it. This is the second week in a row I've done that. But I think we're all going the same way.
All right, so you just put them all up. It doesn't make any difference.
All right.
We all are betting on the men from Annapolis, Maryland.
I could not go against my lineage. My grandfather was a Navy.
Amen.
A Navy.
All right, then change mine to the Army.
Oh. Making a quick change, huh?
Change mine to the Army. I love the Navy. Norfolk, Virginia, largest naval base in the world. Coronado, California, home of the Navy SEALs.
Tom, you spent 10 minutes going on about Annapolis yesterday. Now
I
you're
did.
going to pick West Point.
But now I'm going to West Point because I've got to find a way to start making up some ground. So I'm not going to have this deal where it's 3 across the board. If there are any 3s across the board, except for 1 pick coming up in a minute, I got to deviate. It might mean losing ground. So be it. I'm already behind. Okay, what's next?
Next one, Jets and Bills.
The Jets, Jets. Inside the division at Buffalo. That is a big number, Paulie. Tell me, where is the money in Vegas?
This is a huge number, and I'm sitting here debating what I want to do with this game.
Oh, now you're changing.
No, I'm not changing. It opened at I might be changing now that I see this. It opened at 9.5. It has only gone to 10, and the bets, 64% of the bets are on New York. 74% of the money is on Buffalo.
So what does that mean? I mean, for the novice out there, and I would be a novice, what does that mean?
So that means, just if you're thinking about the math, if way more of the bets, the amount of people that have bet on the game, when you say how many bets are on a game, when how many people have bet on the game, it's at 64% of the people that have wagered on this game have bet on the Jets. But of the total pool of money that has been wagered on this game.
What do you call them, Sarks?
Sharps?
Something. Sharps.
Sharps?
Yeah.
74% of the pool of money is on Buffalo. So basically the way you would read into that is, Tom, if you were betting on the Jets and I was betting on the Bills and you bet $10 and I bet $1,000, it would be way more – you would think it would be way more important to know how much money is on the game because people that are wagering more money might know more about what they're doing than somebody that, if you get 100 people in a room and they're all just throwing a $5 leftover something on the game. So that's how you read that. That's a quick
All right,
thing.
so with that in mind, and Von Miller is out for the year. We told you about that yesterday. We wish him well in his recovery. It turned out to be a torn ACL for Von Miller. That's too big a number for me.
Okay.
I think Buffalo's a better team, but I think Robert Saleh, he's going to have him ready to go.
Yeah, Tom.
No.
It's
no, don't even think about it. Go ahead.
It's too big of a number. It's too big. I'm going with the Jets. I also am holding on to a sliver of hope that I've seen enough from Mike White that he can be not a legitimate starting quarterback, but good enough to get these guys wins. Before, Zach Wilson was the reason why they were losing. I mean, he was starting for them to lose. That's pretty much how it was. To me, Mike White gives them the best chance. He's starting. Let's see how he does against the Bills.
Sauce Gardner.
Oh, yeah. Leader of men.
No.
Oh, my God.
Great player, going to be the Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's not even going to be close. He might get every first-place vote. Paul?
All right, before we go to the next game, do you want to switch? I'm on the Jets too.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. That's
I'm
a
on
big
the
number.
Jets. I think 10's a huge number. And if you've been following my picks all season, you know I hate the double-digit NFL spreads. All right, Eagles-Giants. Philadelphia by a touchdown.
Man, I got to tell you, the Eagles, to me, without a doubt, I know their record is the best record in the NFL, and you can say, well, their competition has not been, like some of the heavyweights you'll run into on the AFC side. That might be true. It might not be true. But this team is for real. The Eagles have really got a good team, and they will cover that 7 on the road in the Meadowlands.
I agree, Tom. They're going to cover. And also another little fun fact, every single one of the Giants' losses has been by 7 or more. So regardless, you're looking at a trend where we could either just be pushing or covering. So that's why I went with the Eagles. I think they're the better team. What do you feel, Mr. Paul?
I'm going to try and make up some ground here. I've had a bad past couple of weeks.
And you have too much faith in the Giants.
I'm going to take the Giants. I don't have a lot of faith in them, but I can hope that they cover a touchdown. I'm taking the Giants. Give me the Giants. The G-Men. Good stat, though, Case.
G-Men.
All right.
Deep ball. Here we go. Dolphins coming off a drubbing, and Tua did not play well. Couple of touchdown passes, yes. Couple of picks, yes. They were wiped out on the West Coast last week by the 49ers. They travel this week to the West Coast again. For all I know, they stayed there all week. I didn't even bother to look. But, now you got the Chargers who are right there, right there on that playoff line trying to get in. I know the offensive line is really banged up for the Chargers. I like the Dolphins team, but I think the Chargers are going to cover that 3.5.
Okay. The 3.5 is the interesting part of this. It made me kind of guess, kind of think about this pick, but I'm going with the Dolphins. I think they have the better team right now. I'm just not I don't have any faith in the Chargers, regardless of who's coming back.
I get that. I don't either.
To me, the Miami has the better defense. So
I don't either.
You picked them.
I know that, but I have no faith in them whatsoever. But I'm going to pick them because I just think that
all right.
I think Tua's hurt. Go ahead.
Oh,
You think Tua's hurt?
He's hurt?
He had an injured ankle before the game last week.
Uh-oh.
He re-injured the ankle. Now, he's going to play. It's not serious enough to keep him out. But a big part of his game is being able to move around and run around and make something out of nothing and throw on the run and all that kind of stuff. And the Chargers, they got some guys that can get after the quarterback a little bit. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's questionable with an ankle injury. Limited on Wednesday.
He'll play. He played last week. He'll play.
But it's his ankle. Like that's where his really big injury happened, right? He had to have surgery on his ankle.
That's exactly
Tua,
right.
give him to me.
Right.
That's
Dolphins.
Your fins.
I'm riding.
Fins.
All right, next up. This is a wild one. I actually had to double check this because I didn't believe the line when Casey told me the.
You don't have any faith in me?
Tell me about the money, the sharps, and where the majority of money bets are, how they're being wagered.
Yeah, this is a wild one to me. So the Steelers right now are 2.5. This game opened as the Steelers being a 3.5 point underdog, and it has moved to the Steelers being 2 point or 1.5 point favorites, depending on where you get it. And it's almost 50-50 on the bets.
Okay.
But 81% of the money is on Baltimore.
Wow.
So sharp, I guess, money would say that the Ravens.
Sharp money.
Sharp money on the Ravens.
Well, I don't have any money anymore. I used to have pretty decent amount of cash. I don't have any money anymore, but I'm one of the sharps in this case. I'm taking the Ravens.
All right.
I got the scouting report. You only get it right here. We got the scouting report on Huntley from Brian Billick.
Yeah,
he said he can't run like Lamar, who can, as we've said before, outside of Justin Fields. But he likes Huntley in the pocket. Now, can they hold up? Because that's a stiff Steeler pass rush.
Yeah, last couple games that the Steelers-Ravens matchup always come down to the wire. It's always a close game. I have a lot of faith in the Steelers' defense this year, and the Ravens, to me, without Lamar, do not have a very good chance against this defense. I mean, I like Tyler Huntley more, but they don't have any receivers. They're so reliant on having a run game that is predicated on Lamar being able to run the football.
Good point.
This is not a good matchup, I don't think, for Tyler Huntley. As much as I like him, I think this is a W for the Steelers. Predicting by a field goal.
All right. So Casey thinks they cover. I got the Ravens in this one. Ooh. And the Steelers better win for the Bengals' sake. I think somebody just put that in the chat.
Yeah.
AJ literally said the exact same thing in the chat. The Ravens, the Steelers winning this game, don't need to say it, would be huge for the Bengals, but I just think the Ravens can get this done. We'll see. Oh, God, I almost spoiled it again. Bucs-Niners.
We just added this game late.
This is a late ad. Sorry.
Late ad. Niners going with a backup quarterback after the injury to Garoppolo. Still a lot of debate out there whether Garoppolo is able to come back despite not having surgery on the broken foot, whether he'll be able to come back this year. But they're at home. Brady and the Bucs, offensive line ravaged with injuries the entire year. He's under pressure the second he catches a ball out of shotgun. Despite that miracle finish the other night where they won the game, they should have lost the game to the Saints, who are not very good. The Niners, without question, cover this 3.5.
Okay.
Without question?
Without a doubt.
You like Brock Purdy?
I like the Niners defense, and I like the Niners run game.
All right,
I know Tampa Bay's got a good defense, but I just think that they are going to, Bosa and company are going to get after Brady, and he can't escape.
Well, Tom, I agree with you because this defensive front is nasty. They're going to get after Tom Brady. He's not going to have a good time. Give me the 49ers.
Okay.
Paul?
I'm zagging. I'm taking the greatest quarterback of all time.
Wow.
Man,
Tom Brady.
I'm making up some ground this week.
Tom Brady.
Okay. I mean, look, I hate betting against Brady, picking against Brady, whatever. You would be a very wealthy man if you just bet on Tom Brady money line every game of his career. You gave that stat the other day about the under. If you had bet $100 going back to the Army Navy, you'd have $3.5 million. I think you said, right?
Yeah.
You'd have a lot of money if you bet on Brady money line every game.
Oh, yeah.
Every game, and just rolled it into the next. All right, Brownies are not out of this thing yet. They're not. They are not out of the playoff picture.
They need a lot of help.
There's no doubt, but okay, they're not eliminated. They don't have that X next to their name yet. Okay, so they've got a lot to play for. You have Deshaun Watson, his second game now. Looked terrible the first game, but I think everybody universally agreed he was going to struggle in that game. Maybe not as badly as he did, but we'll see this week. Bengals, hottest team in the league right now. Played great without Chase. Got Chase back. Mixon, by the way, we failed to mention in the opening, he is back. Full contact, out of concussion protocol. Zach Taylor said he will start the game, and he is still the starting running back, despite the fact that P. Ryan has been fantastic, or at least was against Kansas City. 5.5-point spread at Paycor. Bengalis.
That's a good pick, Tom.
Homer show.
The Homer show. And that's not going to change. It's not going to change at all. I'm taking the Bengals. I'm going to this game.
Yes, you are.
I mentioned that in the beginning of the show. I could not wait to go to this game. This is going to be a fun game, especially with Deshaun Watson coming to a very hostile Cincinnati environment, a very good team. Should be a lot of fun.
We talk a lot about how we've picked the Bengals in every game this season, but the Bengals have covered 17 of their last 20 games.
Yeah, I mean, got to keep picking them, right? They're a mathematical correct choice.
What do I always say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Give me the Bengals.
How about that?
Cincinnati Bengals.
That's a team we're gonna cheer to victory. Touchdown, Bengals. Put some points up on that board and win the game for Cincinnati.
The last time that song was sung on this show, the Bengals lost 2 games in a row. That was right before the season opener against the Men of Aluminum. Carried into the following week against the Cowgirls. And, boys, you just threw a major league big-time jinx on the home team.
Jinxes don't exist. I'm not
worried. They do.
Not worried about it.
They do.
Not worried about it.
And there's old Uncle Mo. You got to watch out for old Uncle Mo. Uncle Momentum. And the Browns just got Uncle Mo in the house because these two guys just sung that song or sang that song. What would be the – can you help me? Either one of you Rhodes scholars over there.
The Houday chant.
Sang. Okay. And the last time it was Brandon and Casey singing. Now Paul – and me too. I did too. But if you notice, not this time. No.
All right, one more game.
All right, the big one tomorrow, right?
The big one tomorrow. Now, again, we don't have a line on this game yet. It'll come out tonight. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to make it 4.5.
What makes you think that this is a 4.5? I mean, come on. Xavier is without a doubt. They've played better competition. They've played better against better competition. They don't have any bad losses. UC certainly does. Yeah. What makes you think this is a 4.5 point?
So I'm glad you brought it up because a lot of people have made that point all week. So KenPom, which if anybody follows college basketball, is the best college basketball site on the internet. KenPom has this game right now as a 2-point spread. And KenPom is almost always within a half a point to a point of the spread. Now, I know I just said 2 points and I'm putting this at 4.5. KenPom also doesn't take into account injuries. Rob Finney will not play in this game. And I don't know if he's worth 2 points to the spread, but it's something to look at. The other thing from last year was that I think Xavier was a 6-point favorite last year, and they were just as much of a better team against this Cincinnati team last year as they are this year.
And they were at home.
And that was only an extra 1.5 off of this. So it's a rivalry game. It's on the road at Cincinnati. I think it'll be in the 4.5 range. I could maybe see 5.5, but I really think it'll be in that 4.5, 5.5 range. If it's way off, then we'll scrap it. If it's way off.
If it's more than 2 points, let's say scrap it. Because if this, let's say, no, because we're putting in the half just to have it so we don't have a push.
So we don't have a push.
Okay, but let's say these picks are off if this line comes out at 6. Okay?
Let's say 7, because it may come out at 6 and get bet down. Let's say 7.
All right, 7. If it comes out at 7, then these picks are out.
Okay.
Because I think UC would cover that.
Yeah.
But 4.5, nope. The X-Men.
The Muskies. And that's what I'm picking.
Yeah. Yeah. If you've listened to the Rebound Rundown, we've had a great week of shows in the Rebound Rundown. We've had everybody on this week, former players. I mean, it's been a great week on the show. I don't think there's any stone I left unturned about this game this week. And, look, I've watched almost every minute of Cincinnati's season. I've watched every minute of Xavier's season this year pretty much. And even though it'll be in a hostile environment, even though it's the first time that this game's been at Fifth Third Arena since 2018 in front of a full crowd, no player on either team has played in front of a full crowd at Fifth Third Arena in the shootout, I should say. Even with all of those things, it'll be a raucous environment. I still think Xavier gets it done. I just think they have too much depth in the post.
So, Casey, you're not going to that game, correct?
I'm not going to the crosstown shootout.
Okay. Brandon, are you going to that game?
Nope. That's surprising.
Front runner. Brandon Sejo.
No doubt about it. Oh my God. Well, Casey's the ultimate front runner. If you notice, they beat UC. He shows up the next day. It's been well documented in his NKU garb, right? And we've not seen anything since with NKU on it.
Well,
Brandon walks around here all the time with a lot of dated, tired Bearcat stuff on. But now the week of the shootout, not a chance.
Tom, the NKU has not been worthy of cheering on about since that win. I mean, they've had a couple of nice wins, but not like.
It's true. The Norse have kind of struggled a little bit.
They've struggled since then. So I can't be like constantly coming in here and shoving it in everyone's faces when they're just as bad as UC is, respectively, like comparatively.
Sir Boy Wonder thought that Brandon might be going to crowd surf that game. Can't you see Brandon being passed through the student body section there at Fifth Third Arena?
You strike me as a guy that's been crowd surfed before.
Yes, no,
He didn't say no.
It might be in Oakley. In Oakley, yeah. Poofy-haired fancy boy. Never seen him on here before. Have you?
No, but he wants to know what product you use.
Yeah, well, believe it. It's called in the bathroom when you wash your hands, put the water in it. Due for a haircut. All right. The boys are back with boxed lunch. Trace, Reed,
Tom,
how are we looking?
You're looking great.
No doubt.
Poofy or fancy boy was right. Your hair's looking great.
No doubt. No question. It's falling out.
Same.
But, yeah.
Mine is too.
Yours is not falling out. Give me a break.
Oh, Tom.
Good Lord.
There's a countdown clock on each hair, and there's just timing out every time I go through the shower. Just rub my hands through it.
You don't even have the start of a divot back here.
Well,
See,
it's going.
I got the divot thing going. You know, where all of a sudden it's just that spot back there. It looks like something in golf course after you hit a pitching wedge or something. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, I mean, your hair got flanked. It's moving from the back. The front line on my hair is retreating in a hurry. I mean, it's trench warfare. I mean, I bought the keeps. I bought everything to. I got to keep this going as long as possible.
Have you thought about any of that? You know, that stuff you allegedly can Rogaine, I think it's called.
Rogaine, no, not a no Rogaine. No Rogaine.
But you tried some other stuff.
Well, actually, not yet. But like I said, I'm a fan of your hair. I might get some of that touch of gray stuff and see how I look with the salt and pepper.
You don't want any part of it.
Okay.
You don't.
What's your thoughts on the cul-de-sac? If you see folks that have kind of like, I call it the cul-de-sac. I don't know if that's the right frame.
What is a cul-de-sac?
The cul-de-sac is when you got like
bald on the top.
Bald on the top, and you got all of your hair, and it's in thick all the way around the rest of it. Do you just cut it all off?
Well, see, I have a really good friend of mine that has that going on, and he and I have talked about this regularly because, I mean, it's easy for me to say, though, if you're not in that position, you really can't walk in another man's shoes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And, I mean, I think the natural tendency, and I think what you're getting at is why not just shave it all off, right? Just go completely bald.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. I can't answer that.
Sounds like Tom is a shave-it-off cul-de-sac kind of guy. Not to put words in his mouth. He just doesn't want to.
I would have shaved it, but I mean, again, I can't walk in those shoes. So it's hard to try and wonder what I would do about it. I mean, it's going fast, but I'm in an age now where if it goes, it's expected to go. So you start getting 60 and all that kind of thing. I mean, it is what it is. Neither one of you guys have to worry about that.
I think it's safe to say you're safe.
They're all looking good.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't know
me and Brandon we don't got too much time left with our hair.
We'll see how it goes.
So what's happening here today, boys?
Well, we're going to, tomorrow's the Crosstown Shootout.
Yep.
So we had a discussion on Wednesday about the state of that rivalry. Apparently it doesn't mean as much as, we think it should. So I've got some suggestions on how we can improve it. We're going to talk about, some bad trades, as America was in a bad trade a couple days ago. So we're going to go over some bad trades in the history of the world, not just sports, but the history of the world.
Okay.
It's going to be a good show, Tom.
I'm looking forward to it.
Tom, you're more than welcome to stay on board.
Tom, this is where this whole Crosstown Shootout thing came to be, because you obviously, when you leave the office from time to time, you miss out on some of these takes that happen around here. And I am glad to see, really quickly before I forget, because I am a forgetful mind, I am glad to see that you are on the Chargers, because that is going to be a slam dunk win for you. Yeah.
Well, when you start dropping slam dunks, that's a good sign.
You're going to walk in here pounding your chest when you got that bolt. I seen that little bolt right there on the graphic. You're gonna be pleased that exists.
Well, I sure hope so, because I've got some room to make up, and I think both of you guys took
Miami. They took Miami. They took Miami.
That's right.
Because they looked so good last week.
Fins to the left, fins to the right.
That's right.
I forgot that you're a parrot head.
Oh yeah, big, many shows out there.
Well, it's good. It's a good show.
Jimmy Buffett.
It's a good show.
People you either like him or some people are sort of lukewarm. Nothing better than if you're out in the sunshine, have a cold beer, and you throw on some of his stuff. Not always the most popular stuff, but just some of his other stuff.
So what happened? What happened on the last Box Lunch show is me and Reed were naive, I guess, and we said, now Paul's going to try to defend himself, and we'll give him a second to defend. But what happened was we had said that this has to be the biggest game of the season for both programs, because right now they're in a state of flux to where, quite frankly, they're not going to be playing for the Sweet 16 or Final Fours, more than likely. Definitely not Final Fours. But having said that, I brought up this weird idea that I thought there's no way these Xavier fans would agree to this. But yet, here they are on Twitter, and here they are in the office saying that they would rather lose to UC every year for 10 straight years and be guaranteed a slot as a 9 seed in the tournament.
No, I said no. I said a protected seed, which is 4 or better. You gave me a protected seed. Yeah, that's what I said. 9 seed, you play that 8-9 game, then you lose the 1 seed. That's stupid.
How could you guys get this?
You give me. I said that in the text though, because I said I said a 9 seed or better. No.
You said 9 seed is tough.
I said a 9 seed tough. No, I wouldn't do that. Oh, maybe you misunderstood what I meant by tough. Tough to me is like. No.
Tom,
but a top 4 seed where I get to pick where, I'm going to be regionalized, like you get sent to an arena close to where you play. Absolutely. You're playing for a title.
Tom,
yeah.
Would you take losing to Michigan for a decade straight, even if it meant you got in the college football playoff every year?
Yes.
You would?
As a 12 team?
In the 12?
In the 12-team playoff.
12. No, in a 4-team.
We're talking about, that's the other thing, too. We're talking about a 68-team tournament.
Yeah, but look, there's a big difference between being a top 4 seed.
Yeah.
That wasn't the deal, though.
64-team tournament. All right, well, I don't
9
know how you guys got this messed up.
9 seed, I wouldn't trade that.
You better go find the tape. This is that deal where they got the commercial going where they're talking about the sweet potatoes and who screwed it up, and they throw the red flag, the challenge flag.
Of course, and you know what I've noticed on those commercials? The women always win those arguments.
Well,
I'm just saying.
Well,
I'm just saying. I've never seen a man win the argument when they do these commercials. Just saying.
Have you ever seen?
Why is that? I wonder why that is.
Have you ever seen a man
That's
win
life.
an argument
That's
with
reality.
his wife?
Reality TV.
Interesting.
Men, chop down.
Tom, I can't believe you didn't take UC though. Come on, man.
You know what? I'm changing.
Yes, sir.
Look it up.
Let's get it. I mean, come on, Tom.
No, I'm not changing.
Do we?
I'm staying with.
Gotcha.
I think Xavier's a better team. And look, it's not taking a shot at Travis Steele because he won that game as a head coach. But
it's the only thing he won.
Sean Miller's big time coach. He'll have him ready to play, and they're just a better team right now. This time next year, who knows? Fremantle's gone, all that kind of thing. But right now, X is the better team.
Do we have that clip from the buzzer beater?
We do. Yep.
We do. Hang on, just 1 second. I'll have it pulled up in 2 seconds.
Right here.
Here it is. Huggy!
Tom.
Huggy! Leader of men! Long is 15 points.
Shot clock at 6. Gentry force the issue. Rebound to Martin. Throw ahead to Van Exel. He'll cut it loose. Watch out!
It's a big league call.
Who's that young man on the call?
Big league call. Mickey Van Exel.
Do you remember that game?
Stud.
Do you
no,
remember?
I don't remember the day before yesterday. So, no,
It was
I don't.
Wednesday.
But I remember those were great battles. How good was Terry Nelson and how good was Steve Wolf today?
They were fantastic.
Fantastic. Again, Brandon, Paul, thank you. Casey, thank you for everything.
Yeah, no problem.
Have a great time at the Bengals game.
I will. I'll have a good time.
Paul, have a great time at the shootout.
Absolutely.
I don't know where to tell you to have a great time. You'll have one, though, guaranteed. Are you guys, any of you guys going to the Bengals to the shootout? Either one?
Depending on ticket prices for the Bengals game, I might.
Really? Might sneak down there?
Might sneak down.
You've been winning some cash in the
Not too big? I've been doing all right. I've been doing all right, Tom. So, we'll see.
Who did you pick, before I get out of here, who did you pick for the who are you guys picking for the Army-Navy game?
Well, there's a thing, the under, the total.
Yeah, I know.
The under's hit like 10 straight years. I don't know. I don't know who I'll take. I guess I'll take Navy because they're the better team, right? I mean, I'm not going to bet it, but if I did, I would take Navy.
All right.
I'm gonna go with.
He's got to check his. He's got.
I don't. This isn't about that. I'm gonna say. You know what's wild? Is that line? Is that real, Paul? It says the line opened at 6.5, and Navy's now on a 2.5 point. Navy was a 6.5 point underdog, and now they're a 2.5 point favorite.
Yeah.
What happened?
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, well, hold on a minute now. I mean, is like the starting quarterback out or something? Because
they run the triple option. How much does that matter?
No, of course it still matters. You kidding me? Maybe it
That's
matters
like a 9.
more.
That's
Ball
a
exchange, all that kind of thing.
That's almost that's 8.5 point swing, right? Or 9 point swing.
Yeah, good.
Or 8 point swing. Public. I don't know. I'm not good at math.
No, you throw in the halves. You were right. 9.
That's a wild swing.
So where are you taking? You taking the Knights or the?
I'm going to
midshipmen?
take. I'm going to take Army.
Big West Point guy.
That away.
I'm going to take Army.
Trace and I are.
Sharp.
But I'll be honest. That's just.
I flipped. Because I got to make up some ground.
That's.
All right, boys.
Here we go. Wait, but this doesn't make any sense.
What's going on? Is the chat at least giving us an idea?
Well,
of
it
what's going
says
on in
that
this
Navy's
game?
quarterback is out, but that doesn't make any sense because the line is moved to Navy.
Maybe it's a situation like Casey's been saying all year, where Lamar Jackson isn't any good, and Huntley's so much better that when Lamar's out, the line moves like 5 points.
USA veteran in closing, the retired USA veteran who's with us each and every day says, gents, have a great weekend. Go Bengals. Go Army. Beat Navy. God bless you all and God bless America.
That's right.
That's right.
Boys.
Tom,
I need to steal your computer when you leave.
Here, it's not mine. I left my, as I said, here, it's yours, I think. I'll bring it over. All right, boys, enjoy the show.
Tom, thanks.
Tom.
All right, so
Paul's backtracking a little bit on the statement he made.
Yeah.
So now it just makes it a little tough because I was. Now I will say this: there was a guy on Twitter, one of the Xavier faithful guys on Twitter. He agreed to the deal. He said he would be the 9 seed in the tournament every single year if it meant guaranteed in the tournament.
he called it. Oh well, like here's the thing: is
That's just terrible.
I'm not as well in tuned with college basketball as either of you are, Paul and Trace. But if you ask me before the year, every year, you can circle one game to get a win on.
Yeah.
I'm taking UC no matter what. It doesn't matter if you can circle a win against a great Villanova team, against a great UConn, Creighton team. I cannot sit around and take flack from UC fans all winter. I'll take my chances with the other games. I've got to win the UC game. Have to.
Could you imagine putting yourself in this position, Paul? Imagine, just envision yourself going to the grocery store, going to hang out at Thanksgiving, and it's the 9th straight year in a row that UC has beat Xavier. Could you imagine how that would feel?
Can you?
I mean,
cool.
yeah.
I'll go be the 2 seed in March.
So what? Oh, yeah. We're going to the Sweet 16.
I'm just saying if we're making that argument. Now, if it's a 9 seed, that's way different. And the other thing, too, is just like, and I'm not. Let me make one thing very clear because I really hate when people, go on about has the shootout, lost some of its fire or whatever. But like just objectively looking at this, like Wes Miller's a nice guy, Wes Miller's a good dude.
Well, Mick and Bobby not.
He's not Mick. He's not Bob Huggins. Xavier people don't hate Wes Miller, right? There's not this like.
Well, if they lose 10 times in a row, they might.
Sure, but like, is Wes gonna act the same way Mick did or the same way Bob did? No, he's just not. And the players, I think this goes back to it too because I was doing a podcast earlier this week and we were talking about somebody wrote in a question and was asking over under 2 technicals issued in this game. And we were debating whether there might have to be a little, I don't want to say manufactured drama, but I mean, none of these players have played at UC in front of a crowd like this in this game. So even built up within the program, you think back to those great years with like Lance Stevenson or Gary Clark or Yancey Gates, those guys hated each other. Like now in this day and age where you have Landers Nolly, who's a transfer, David DeJulius is now playing in his 3rd one, but he's a transfer. Jeremiah Davenport gets what this game is. But, Jack Nungy, Sule Boom, all these guys, transfers. So I'm not saying they don't appreciate it, but it's not this ingrained thing that it was like 10 years ago where it was this fiery, both teams were so good every year. Coaches hated each other, You see what
I get what you're saying, but essentially what you're saying is the rivalry
doesn't mean as much
anymore. It's watered down.
Yeah.
It's diluted.
We just need both teams to be better. We just need both teams to be better.
Here's what Reed did for you,
You're
Paul.
in luck.
You are in major luck, Paul, because Reed Mouse has been hard at work since Wednesday when all of you Xavier fans were talking about how this game just doesn't really mean a whole lot. So he's got all the answers, and I want you to go through a list here. By the way, for those that are keeping the graphics, we are down now to the shootout improvements.
Got it.
All right.
Yep.
We're here.
So I've got four ways in which that we can improve this rivalry. Not only improve it, but make it more of a national brand. Not just here regional, make it more of a national brand. We're going to get multiple viewers. First off, is we've got to improve the name. The Skyline Chili Crosstown Shootout, it's tired. It's bad. So we've got to improve the name. First off, we got to go with the better chili supplier. So we got to get rid of Skyline, implement Gold Star.
Hell yeah. I like where this is going.
Secondly, it is called the Crosstown Cross. What do you think of when you think of a cross?
You know what? I'm with you on this. With you on this.
In which of these two schools is a religious institution? That's Xavier. That's kind of biased, right? I mean, right then and there, it's biased towards Xavier, Crosstown. So we got to get rid of Crosstown. Well, you know what it is? It's an in-town. It's an in-town game. So it's this Gold Star in-town. And then lastly, in 2022, we're still going to call it the shootout? I mean, let's be sensitive here. And let's not overthink this. It's not the shootout. It's not the showdown. What is it?
It's a basketball game.
It's a basketball game. It is the Gold Star in town basketball game. Right then and there, that's screaming ratings right off the rip. All right.
I thought you were going to say crosstown as in like they're not actually a crosstown like east side and west side. They're just like 2 miles.
No, well, it's in town.
Yeah, got it.
So, secondly, I want to figure out which team is better from the top to the bottom.
Okay.
All the way. Every single person on the roster has to play for 3 minutes, at least 3. We're going Little League style. We want every player. We got to see who's better, top to bottom. And on top of that, not just the roster. I want to see the mascots get involved. I want the Bearcat and the Blue Blob to each play 3 minutes. And this is where it gets really good. The in-game host. I want Eddie Traynor out there, and I want Paul Fritchner to play for 3 minutes out on that floor. That way we figure out once and for all who the better team is.
All right, I'm in.
You're in? All right.
Well, we have 2 more, right?
2 more.
Okay.
He's not done.
So what is sports essentially? It's entertainment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. So we've got to spice it up in the dead zone. You know, they're not playing at halftime. So how can we get people involved watching at halftime, not only in the arena, but on TV? So what I see is every year, Kenny Freese and Yancey Gates fight at the middle of the floor during the halftime. 1 round. It's a boxing match. We're not going UFC. We're not setting up the cage. We want them to box. And the winner of the boxing match gets their respective alma mater 10 points to start the second half. That way, this really means a lot. Like, Kenny Freese has got to be training every year. Yancey Gates has got to be training. They're playing for 10 points at halftime, just as a little something extra. Keep it real involved. And then lastly, we're going to play for pink slips. You know what that means? We're going to play for pink slips. The winner of this game gets to take the other team's best player for the rest of the year. Play them for the rest of the year. They come back to the program next year if they want to. But, you know, you could take Colby Jones, Jack Nungy, whoever you want. They'll probably need Jack Nungy. UC will. And then UC can take, or Xavier can take UC's best player if they win. You play for pinks. It makes it all the more important.
If UC were to win this game, they take what player?
Oh, they'd have to take Jack Nungy.
Have to take Nungy.
You have to. That's a no-brainer.
No-brainer. They're missing that piece.
They are missing.
If Xavier wins, who are you taking?
I'd take Julius.
Julius. All right,
he's good.
He's good.
He's good.
Nolly's pretty damn good too, though.
You know,
Julius is consistent, though.
All right.
What's the almost cliched saying around this game that I've heard all week? There's always some guy that sneaks out and is going to make a big-time game. The 2 guys that I haven't heard enough
here we go. This is going to be another. I can't wait for this bit. Go for it.
Are both here from Hamilton, Ohio. Sage Tolentino is going to be a difference maker, and so is Ian Sabrin, the walk-on at Xavier. Those guys are going to be the difference maker this Saturday. Just mark my words.
I actually think that of all the things that you've come up with and now, the 2 that would actually have national ratings right off the rip is obviously a boxing match.
Right. Kenny
Right
Freese
at
and Yancey
halftime.
Gates.
Nice. You could get in like 3 3-minute rounds. Right. Maybe we knock.
You can extend the
take it from
halftime.
3 minutes. Maybe we make it more like a minute because those guys are going to be gassed. Those are some heavyweights now.
Those are some big boys.
Those are some big boys.
6'9" and 7 foot.
That's right. So I say we do 3 1-minute 30-second rounds, and then best 2 out of 3 or a knockout. Maybe there's a knockout. I mean, that's electric. You know what I'm
That's
talking
good stuff.
I'm so in.
That is electric.
I just want this to be a national
outside of
brand.
that, you know, the pink slip thing, not a bad idea. I don't mind that.
Play for pink.
Then you know what Xavier fans would be saying then?
What?
They want to win this game every year.
Right.
Seems like that's a big deal now.
It is a big deal.
I feel like you fixed the problem.
Yep.
Worst 5 trades. You brought this up
Okay.
because you thought that we made a bad trade the other day. We don't try to get into politics around here.
Right.
But, I mean, if we're being honest, this came up directly because we made a bad trade.
We traded Russia for Brittany Griner. We traded Brittany Griner for the Merchant of Death, Victor Bout, which I tweeted this yesterday. Anyone that thinks this is a bad trade is more worried about winning the next World War than they are about winning the next FIBA Women's Basketball Championship. And that's what scares me. We've got to be really focused in on winning, keeping our sports supremacy here in this world. All right, but I've got a list of the top 5 worst trades of all time, and we're going to go in reverse order. It could be sports. It could be just the history of man in general. And the first one is going to hit a little close. I just got to take a slight jab at the Cincinnati Reds.
Okay, let's hear it.
The 5th worst trade of all time is the Reds had the best player in Major League Baseball back in the 60s, Frank Robinson.
Yeah.
And he turned 30 years old, and they said, this guy is too old. So they traded him for 3 no-names, and he went on to win a Triple Crown the next year and 2 World Series with the Baltimore Orioles. That just had to get out of the way. Top 5 worst trades. The 4th worst trade of all time, and you will back me up on this. Russell Wilson, what he has done to my eyeballs this year.
He's the worst.
There's nothing that can make that better.
Could you imagine if we did that in Cincinnati?
Oh, my God.
We traded 6 draft picks for Russell Wilson. You remember the Deshaun Watson trade? People were like, what did they give up for Deshaun Watson? And it's not even close to as bad of a trade as Russell. Russell Wilson could win the next 5 Super Bowls, and it cannot replace the damage he has done to this country.
All right.
In Denver.
You're telling me. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I want to hear the next few because that's.
All right.
I would argue it's one of the worst trades maybe ever.
All right. So we got a graphic for this next one.
We have graphics?
Gisele Bündchen traded the greatest player in this country's greatest sport. A man who is handsome and kind and wealthy and seems to be a loving dad for this jabroni? Who is this guy? She traded Tom Brady for this guy? His name is Joaquin Valentin. For whoever cares, he's a jiu-jitsu instructor, and she traded Tom Brady for this guy. That's terrible. What is she doing?
Did you see? Which we need to get this up there, too. And you guys, producers, have got to make this happen if you don't know. Have you seen... I know you have because you told me. Tom Brady's girlfriend.
He won the trade.
He's won the trade.
He definitely won the trade.
Huh?
You guys saw.
You guys got it. I know people in the chat don't know. You got to come up with a way to get that on the screen. She traded Tom Brady for that man, and wait until you see what Tom Brady traded to get to where he's at. I don't know. Did he even take a step back?
No,
he did not.
No, he
somehow
upgraded. He upgraded.
He Leonardo
Tom Brady
DiCaprio.
went from
100%
Giselle and
upgraded.
Here we go.
Hang on, it's loading in. Just give me a second.
All right, well, we got a second.
Loading in, he said. It's loading in.
Right here.
Well, I mean, you're gonna have to. This is gonna take a minute. You're gonna have to go into the Instagram page and go from there.
That's
what you're gonna have.
It's worth the click.
It's worth the wait for you folks. In the meantime, while we do that,
do we want to make this show PG-13?
Because we might just need to put this picture.
Right.
Up
Yeah.
Okay. Fine.
Go ahead.
I'm sure the folks in the chat can figure out a way to get there on their own if they'd like to figure that out.
Dutch.
But for now,
this is his replacement.
He made that trade.
I mean,
not doing too bad. And these are about the nicest pictures I've seen so far.
If you have an Instagram,
you can figure it out.
You need to
figure it out on your own.
You definitely need to go down there. All right, so that was the 3rd worst trade of all time.
That was the 3rd worst?
Yep.
Okay.
The 2nd worst trade of all time is any player, any professional athlete that traded their salary for Bitcoin this year.
Oh.
Trevor Lawrence, Shohei Ohtani. There's Odell Beckham Jr. You know what's
the timeout. Do you still have that?
I do. I just
put it up. Put it up. Listen, our chat deserves to see what Tom Brady's doing. Do you think that Tom Brady's back? He's definitely back, fellas.
Gosh.
I mean, come on, man.
Bet the Buccaneers this weekend. Bet them.
Let's go. All right, that's enough before we get in too much trouble.
Oh, man.
The reality is that's on Instagram, first of all.
Right.
AJ in the chat.
AJ. There you go. We give our viewers what they want here. So the second worst trade of all time.
The chat was asking, so the chat gets what the chat wants. Okay?
All right. Any player that traded their salary for Bitcoin this past year, you're down bad. That was a bad trade. There are some people that traded their salary for Bitcoin and were on the FTX platform.
Right.
So they've got nothing. Just gone, vanished.
Can you imagine your $10 million
just
a
gone.
Year check just right down the tubes?
Oh, man, SBF's going to jail.
Tough.
All right,
Tough.
the final.
One more here.
The worst trade of all time happened back in 1803. Go ahead. Napoleon Bonaparte traded the Louisiana Purchase for $3 million. Napoleon, what happened? Half the country for $3 million. You can't even get Tucker Barnhart for $3 million anymore.
He's a Gold Glover, though.
I did the inflation. It is $3 million in 1803, according to this calculator, which, I mean, they could just be making up numbers, settles into about $80 million now. We got half the country for $80 million. That is Aaron Judge and Trey Turner right then and there. That's all you've got. I mean,
tough.
Napoleon, what were you doing? We thank you.
He was a what's in it for me now kind of guy at that moment.
Right. I mean,
he's like, hell with it.
He got in debt with his wars over there. He said he was liquidating. He's like, that country over across the pond ain't going to be anything. And we got half the country for $3 million. Thomas Jefferson fleeced Napoleon Bonaparte. And that's why we are where we are today, just because of that trade. All right. So
how am I supposed to go from that to my topic?
Well,
we need to start somehow layering these together to where they're not so serious.
All right.
But I've been paying attention to the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And I feel like most people have. I'm not one of these boomers out here that thinks that the portal shouldn't exist and kids shouldn't get paid. But I will say, it has completely changed the landscape of recruiting. This is more of my take on the subject than the whole should players get paid and blah blah blah. Change is going to happen. Figure it out. I don't feel bad for these universities, but here's one thing that I've been thinking of that I've been pondering. Luke Fickell left the University of Cincinnati specifically for this reason, according to some of my sources, but then also just based off of my brain saying, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Who wants to deal with this NIL stuff? When Ohio State, I don't know if you know, but if you haven't been paying attention, Ohio State is losing commits. Kids are flipping right now from Ohio State to southern schools, Miami and Florida. They lost a 5-star running back, and they also lost, I think, a cornerback, defensive back, I should say, to I think they flipped to Florida. At the end of the day, Ohio State is having some problems, and this is what I've heard, paying attention to some of the YouTubes and the group chats, is what's happening is you have these donors. Ohio State has these NIL packs where they want you to donate, $10,000 and you get a signed JT Barrett football or something, something ridiculous. And the reality is that the Schottensteins of the world, the people that donate a lot of money to the world, they're used to donating for facilities, right? Things that you can see, things that you can you can justify. You can say, well, no matter what, in 20 years, this facility is going to be, here. What's going on now is you're having this shift in dynamics to where now, in order to recruit at an elite level, it's no longer about facilities. It's about how much the kid's going to get. It's how big of a bag are they going to get for the most part, right? And the reality now is a lot of these donors don't like NIL, right? They're not to say they're boomers, but when you're well off and you're older in age, you don't like the idea of kids just transferring because it's too hard, or you've heard it before. So you don't have a lot of big money donors wanting to put their money into these NIL collectives because they don't believe in it. They don't think that it should be even a thing. And what you have now is you have a situation where Ohio State has raised $3 million in this NIL fund, right?
Yeah.
And it is rumored that Ryan Day wanted $13 million to be competitive with the Southern schools. He needs $13 million a year for base salaries, basically. We'll talk. Let's just talk as it is. Like base salaries for all of your players.
Right.
So even if you're not even a guy that really plays, you still get a certain amount of money.
Right.
And then on top of that, certain guys are going to get more money.
Yeah.
And then when you
Marvin
go recruit, even though it's quote unquote illegal, it's definitely happening all over the country. You're not, by the way, just for those that don't know, you're not supposed to be able to even tell a recruit or give a recruit any sort of guarantee on getting NIL money.
It's supposed to happen independently from the school, right?
It's supposed to happen when you are at the school, and then from there you can then get paid. We all know that's not the case.
Not the
It's
case at all.
Hey, if you come here, you're going to get this much money. So what my thought is that how many high school kids are not going to get recruited anymore because they're basically going to assume, and I'd say I'm talking about programs, are going to assume that they are going to just start taking all their kids out of the portal instead of filling roster spots with high school kids. That in and of itself is my biggest thought process on this. It's not should kids get paid. It's not whether or not it should be restricted by the NCAA. Blah 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 blah. It's literally the philosophy of collegiate athletics when it comes to recruiting now, and I think it's going to shift. The paradigm is going to shift significantly. Right? All of a sudden, the kid from Wisconsin was going to go to Allen. I think his name. You guys might know his name better than I. What's the Allen, the receiver, or the running back, the running back from Wisconsin was rumored to go to Michigan. He was going to go to Michigan.
Yeah.
NIL induced. All of a sudden, Fickle gets there, and then the next thing you know, Blake Corum might stay, he might not stay, and now he's back at Wisconsin. It's like wild to me. Is there anybody that could benefit from this more than Deion Sanders? That's the question I have.
Well, the portal is going bananas right now. More people. There's so many people in the portal right now, and the bowl games haven't even happened. I don't know if that's normally the case.
Right.
Well,
it's because they're using it for free agency.
So
five kids from Alabama are doing that.
So what about coaches? Just the general idea that recruiting isn't done once you're in the building and at the school. Their freshman year, they've got to constantly be recruiting these kids to stay now.
Right.
They've got to be, promising stuff, and you can't. It's not enough just to get them there. Now you've got to keep them there, and that just unfolds a whole nother level in itself.
Right. And that goes back to Tom's point that he's been making the last week about kids these days being coachable or liking hard coaching, whatever. That before you could say pretty much whatever you want as a coach. You could be as much of a jerk as you wanted to be, and kids didn't really have a lot of recourse to leave. Mm-hmm. They didn't have a ton of leverage. But now, if you don't like the coach, see ya. We're out of here. And coaches need to be able to adjust to that.
The other thing too that I've noticed or that I've thought about, and again, this is where, not to just keep crushing Ohio State, but the one thing that I was told about Ohio State is Ohio State doesn't really want a lot of their donors to support NIL. Why? Because that money doesn't go to them. All of the money in the past from donors has gone straight to the athletic department. They've been the beneficiary of all of the money that's been raised, right? Your Weilers of Cincinnati, if you will, or whoever else. I'm not trying to just single him out. They then now have to ask themselves, do they want to give the athletic department $20 million for this specific facility, or just as a locker room upgrade or whatever, right? That they control, the university controls at that point. Or do they want to give it to this NIL collective that's going to get them better players, which is ultimately, at the end of the day, what those boosters want. The boosters just want to win. They want to enjoy their team that they like winning. That's all this comes down to. If you could guarantee, if me and you could somehow have a magic ball and go to Ohio State and go to Schottenstein or go to anybody and say, hey, I guarantee you, if you give me $50 million and you're going to win 4 championships in the next 10 years, they'll give you it. Because that's, at the end of the day, all they really, truly care about for the most part. I'm not saying that they don't care about other things. I'm sure they do. But that is the baseline of why they give. So you have this weird dynamic to where you used to not have to worry about any of the money going to anybody else. And it's almost like the establishment is now running into this problem because you got all of these other people that are demanding the money, and guess who really truly at the end of the day has the leverage? Like it or not, the kids do, because the kids are the ones that win the games, and they're the ones that ultimately hold all the leverage. Period. So if you're a 5-star, or hell, if you're a kid from North Carolina, what's his name? Drake May. Sorry. Best quarterback in the country, right? Caleb Williams, best quarterback in the country. You go in the transfer portal, you might not even want to leave. You could care less about leaving. You know what happens? Next thing you know, you got like $4 million the next year because they're trying to keep you, or you have other teams trying to give you money. Like, it's legit free agency every single year. And I don't know how they're going to fix it, but the cat's been let out of the bag. I don't know how you get it back in the bag. I really don't know how you do it.
Well, these programs on the periphery, like the Texas A&M's, is just shelling out money left and right. And obviously USC has no problem with shelling out money.
Right.
The teams that hadn't been at the top for the past decade, they're willing to change.
Miami, the Hurricanes.
Yeah, they're willing to change because they have to get a new edge. So there's going to be it's adapt or die now for these teams at the top, like Ohio State, because if they don't adapt with these new programs, they're going to go through some growing pains.
Right.
And they're going to be on the back end of it thinking, oh, wish we'd have done this 5 years ago, and they're going to have to build back up as opposed to adapting and staying on top.
And that just comes back to I do think that there's this weird Moneyball thing that's going to happen, though. And I say Moneyball is in, like, I'm talking about the Billy Bean aspect of this whole portal. I think that there's some aspect within the University of Cincinnati's of the world and your, call it your Nebraskas and, basically your schools that are fringe schools, your Purdue's, your Louisville's, Kentucky football, to where there's going to be so many kids in the portal every year that there's going to be an opportunity to get kids that are bounce back kids.
Yeah.
Kids that went somewhere, for whatever reason, didn't get a chance to play or weren't as good, wasn't good enough to play at these elite level schools. And it's like, there's a small silver lining there. And I think that out of your recruiting staff that spends all this time recruiting kids or more or less evaluates kids, think of it like this. If you have 20 staff members that evaluate high school seniors or juniors every year to try to figure out which kids are we going to go after, I genuinely think high school kids are in for a rude awakening here soon, because I think that a lot of those staff members are going to shift from looking at high school kids to starting to recruit or starting to really scout all the teams that are within Power 5 schools. And as soon as that portal hits, they're going to have a list of kids that they know that they like, right? And they're going to go after them immediately. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But I think the transfer portal, I just wanted to give that different perspective on it, because it's always been this thought on, oh, you got to pay kids, this, that, and that. I think it's changing the whole thing as a whole. The whole entire landscape of recruiting is going to get changed.
And I don't know if I'm breaking new ground here. Probably not, because people spend a lot more time thinking about this than I do. But the kids that are going to be hurting the most at the high school kid level, I mean, the 5 stars and the 4 stars are still going to go to these elite schools and nothing like that. The kids are going to be these 3-star athletes that are, borderline Division I kids, or, deciding between a MAC school or, waiting their turn at a bigger school. Why would you take a chance on a 3-star high school kid when you can just go in the portal and dip someone who's had a little bit of success at another school?
Yeah,
look at
what UC did to Miami with their best defensive guy. What was
Pace?
His name? Pace. I mean, yeah, if you're UC, why offer Pace when he's fringe, borderline, maybe going to be good, maybe not. You don't really know if he's going to be good. Well, you know what? You're going to find out. Hell, if he goes to Miami and he does really well and he's a freshman All-American, so what? We'll just try to pluck him from them.
And now he's a draft pick.
And that's what's sad about the whole thing in general, is that schools that are right on kids, schools that take chances on kids, ultimately are going to be absolutely savaged, or I guess they're going to get ravaged, I guess is the right word to use, of all of their top kids, unless you convince them to stay there. But who in the hell is going to stay at Central Michigan if they're one of the best wide receivers in the country when they have a chance to go play at these Power 5 schools? It's not going to happen.
Yeah, why would Ivan Pace stay at Miami, compete for a MAC championship, when you could go to UC, who just went to the college football playoff a year ago, and play for something?
You can't play with a kid. And everyone's going to be like, oh, well, his brother was there. I mean, if his brother was there or not, it wouldn't have mattered. He was going to go to UC.
Sure.
So,
yeah, let's move. Let's keep it going. You've had a take on this show while I was gone.
Yeah.
And we've argued about this. outside of the show, as we typically do argue quite a bit, that you think that the NFC is better than the AFC. So I've done the due diligence of listing the top 8 AFC teams and the top 8 NFC teams.
Yes.
And I've paired them. And I want you to tell me who's better out of these 8. And you obviously know which team's in the league, but I want you to be as honest and as unbiased as you can be, truthfully, which team is better when I pair these two teams up. All right?
Shoot them. Let's
All
shoot.
right. Number 1 team in each conference, not breaking any new ground here.
Yeah.
The 11-1 Philadelphia Eagles or Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs.
The Eagles are better.
Okay. So that's 1 for the NFC.
Yep.
Number 2, the Dallas Cowboys or the Buffalo Bills.
Cowboys.
Okay. I disagree with you on the first 2 on both parts, but this is subjective. Until they play.
Subjective.
Third one, third string quarterback, San Francisco 49ers, Brock Purdy, or the Cincinnati Bengals.
Not going to like to hear this. Bengal fans are going to hate me when I say this. The 49ers would be a nightmare for the Bengals.
You would rather be in the postseason playing Brock Purdy
Do you realize the 49ers,
and the 49ers over Joe Burrow and the Bengals?
Listen, the 49ers, folks, are not just the Browns on steroids. They're the Browns times 3. Okay? That's who they are. You think that the defensive line caused problems from the Browns when they played the Bengals? Wait until you play the 49ers.
We have
the
played
49ers.
Them.
What?
We did play them last year.
What's that?
We played the 49ers last year and we lost, but it was because of their offense. It wasn't really because of their defense.
Well, so let me backtrack to this year. This is what we're talking about.
Yep.
The Niners took one of these teams that I know you're getting ready to tell me about. You're getting ready to tell me about the Dolphins and how good they've been, right?
Mm-hmm.
They took Purdy, who had to come rush in the game in like the first quarter, and still took him to the woodshed.
So
Still took him to the woodshed.
The question, if you're a fan of a team, I mean, I don't know to give you a team to be a fan of. You'd rather play the Cincinnati Bengals in the postseason than Brock Purdy and the 49ers.
I would say
because that's
it's
essentially
close.
what I'm asking you.
Well, I'm saying if they played each other, who would win? And I genuinely think the Niners would beat the Bengals, but that's here nor there.
You think the Cowboys would beat the Bills? If that's what you're saying?
I think that they could match up with them, yes, and I think they could, yeah. Why not? What you think the Bills are? I mean, I would say I think the Bills are actually the best team, and I think the Cowboys might be arguably the best team in each league.
Oh, come on. Cowboys
we'll
the best?
See. We'll see. I mean, why? I guess this is another question I have for you guys in the room and even in the chat. Maybe I'm not just saying this because Sean's my friend. You know this.
I'm in on the boys.
Like, I just like what do the Cowboys have to do for them to get a little bit of respect?
No,
what do the Cowboys have to do for you to say they might be the best team in the NFL?
Did
they have to go to Minnesota, who just beat the Bills that you're back there chanting about, talking about how good they are? They literally the week after they played the Bills. They went into Minnesota, and beat them so damn bad they thought about giving them a bye. The NFL called Minnesota, asked them if they'd like a bye the next week. So before we sit here and act like the Cowboys aren't good, let's just go back and double check and make sure that the Cowboys aren't getting disrespected.
The thing about the Cowboys, and this is league-wide, this is what, when you talk about teams in the NFL, this is what everyone does. They tend to look at the quarterback play. And not that Dak Prescott hasn't been great this year,
right,
and not that he hasn't been good in past years, but when it comes to crunch time, he's been limited. And there's well documented. So I think when you talk about these great teams and when people get excited about these teams, they ultimately fall back on, but like what's Dak going to do in the postseason? The same way that we're doing this with a Vikings team that's 10-2 is the next team on the list is you go, they're 10-2, they're winning ball games, but like ultimately, what is Kirk Cousins going to do in the postseason?
I would say that. I would say that I'm not a huge. Let's keep going down your list.
Okay, so the next one would be the two teams who I think people aren't afraid to call frauds. Mm-hmm. You call both the Vikings and the Dolphins frauds.
Yeah, they both stink.
Who is better out of those two teams? The Dolphins or the Vikings?
See, this is where I guess this is where Everett's going to be like, oh, you're an NFC homer. I think I'd take the Vikings.
Oh,
I don't know where I go. I went AFC on the first 3 of these. I'm a believer in Tua, truthfully. I know he played bad this past Sunday, but I think he's shown that he wins.
Let me help you, Reed. Vikings
Help me,
defense.
Casey.
Vikings defense is 31st in the league.
Yeah.
They're not stopping anyone. And their offense is only 19th.
But they're 10-2. I mean, winning games in this league matters.
I get it, but they go against a team like the Dolphins who they can't even stop a nosebleed. They're not going to be able to stop the cheetah.
Yeah, the Dolphins have probably, one of the most efficient offenses in the league.
Yeah.
So that's chalk to me. All right, let's go to the 5th best team in each division. The Seattle Seahawks are the 5th best team in the NFC.
Yes.
Against the Baltimore Ravens, the 5th best team in the AFC.
I mean, this is such an easy argument. Like the fact that the Ravens are the 5th best team in the league says everything I need to know about the league.
I mean, the Seahawks aren't world beaters either.
I would say this right now: if you put
the Ravens
Seahawks,
have one more win than
the Seahawks and the Ravens played each other, there's no doubt in my mind that I'm taking the Seahawks.
I think I'd take the Ravens. I'm not as out on the Ravens as everyone else is.
Okay. What's the next one?
The greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Tennessee Titans.
You're forgetting the Commanders and the Giants.
They're getting there.
Okay.
I would take Tom Brady over those 2 teams.
That's a rock fight. I'll give the AFC that one.
Okay, the Titans. The next would be the New York Football Giants, and I'm gonna not just go by current playoff standings. I'm gonna go the Los Angeles Chargers. Okay, it's a win for the AFC, and then finally, I'm going the Commanders of Washington as the 8th best team in the NFC versus the Jets from the AFC. Yeah, you get down to these final teams that are pushing playoff contention, and
okay, so
there's some.
I guess I would then propose this. To answer your question, flip a coin. I don't know.
Yeah,
but my point is when you break it down the way you just broke it down, why is the narrative? And I know what the answer is going to be. Why is the narrative that the AFC is just this ho-hum league and everyone's significantly better when that's clearly? I mean, if you're trying not to be biased here and you go through those, that's just not the case.
Well, the reason that it is because if you look at the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL,
there it is.
I mean, what are they? 7 are in the AFC. I mean, if you start listing them out, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. Would you throw Lamar Jackson in the top 10? Probably. In the NFC, you've got Dak.
So what you're saying is the AFC is like. Hear me out on this, chat.
Ooh, give me a good analogy.
The AFC is Lincoln Riley, and the NFC is Kyle Whittingham with Utah. Flashy, looks good. Everybody thinks that they're great. Meanwhile, you got Utah over here who you don't know who half their players are. They're just grinding out kind of guys. But they win in the trenches.
Well, I mean,
just wondering.
If you want to go by who ends up winning at the end of the year,
that's tough though. I don't really like. I'll say this: if
the Super Bowl champion is typically
if the NFC wins the Super Bowl again this year, I won't come in here pandering about how much better the NFC is. That's obviously not. I don't love that.
Both teams get a team, so you can't look at the full roster of teams.
Would it be cool if the NFL chat help me out? Would it be cool if the NFL
had a game where they played
got rid of the conferences?
Yeah, you just played,
and we just had rankings based off of record at the end of the year, and it was how many teams get in the playoffs now?
14.
So then we just did the 14 best teams in the NFL.
You'd have to have some tiebreakers because every year would come down to some teams, having similar records. So that's seeding, and then there'd always be 14 through 16.
I don't think you can do that in the NFL.
What? Why not?
Well, I like divisions.
Games,
I like
there's
rivalries.
too many teams that finish with the same record around the middle of the pack.
Sure.
Like in the NBA, the NHL, MLB, like very infrequently are you going to get teams in that middle, like
so if
competing.
You finish with the same record and
you'd have to,
then
that's
you
why I'm
start
saying you
going
have to have
into
tiebreakers.
And how exciting is that?
Well, it also messes up the schedule too, right? I mean, divisional games don't matter anymore.
The what?
You would get rid of divisional games, so you just be playing.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying you get rid of divisional games. I'm saying when it comes to the postseason, you line up the 14 teams that are quote unquote with the best records.
1 on one side, 2 on the other side, 3 on one side, 4 on the other side. Yeah, I like that in the MLB. I've been a long time saying that there shouldn't be a National League and American League, but in the NFL, I think Paul's right. They don't play enough games. To truly, divide.
Fair enough.
And I like divisional games. I think everyone likes divisional games. Get your 3 rivals that you play 2 times a year. I think they might need to redo the divisions to actually make sense geographically, but that's neither here nor there. And I Sir Boy Wonder says it's fine right now. And I agree.
I mean, I can't argue that it's not fine the way it is. Maybe it'd be fun.
When are they going to stop playing the Pro Bowl? Who cares?
They did already.
Oh, it's done?
Yeah.
Oh, they don't even play it anymore? Well,
they're going to Vegas and doing a skills competition or something.
That this year is the first because they did the Pro Bowl last year. Okay, good. Well, there you go. There's
skills competition.
All right, it's something. It's some event. It's not a game.
That's good.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Have both linemen, just actually making pancakes, just like pancake competition. There you go. All right. So this is gonna be a shorter show because.
Oh, I don't think we're keeping tabs on how long we go. What do you got?
All right, so I've got
no
a
idea where this is
scam.
going.
I've got a scam of the day. And before we start this, I'm not afraid to let this show go off the rails a little bit. So before we start this, I'm gonna need a little help from all 3 of you guys with microphones. All right.
All right.
Casey.
Yes.
We'll start with you.
Yep.
Can you give me just a little drum line? I need a. Can you? All right, good. Stop. Hold it. Paul, you're going to be my bass line.
All right.
You're going to be my bass line.
All right.
I need you to give me a little ba-doom, doom, 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 doom,
right.
doom, doom.
Ba-doom, doom, 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 doom.
All right, stop.
Ba-doom. All right.
Trace, I need you to give me a snap. All right.
I got that.
Got it? Everyone?
Okay.
Casey, start us off with the drum line and keep it going. Good, keep it going. Paul, give me that bass line. Trace, snap. Scam of the day, scam of the day, dun 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 dun, scam of the day, scam of the day. All right, guys, good. That was great. That's what I needed. We've got an intro now from here going forward. All right, my scam of the day, and I feel very passionate about this, as I do with all my scams. 3-in-1 shampoo is the way to go. Go ahead and get that graphic on up here. Listen, girlfriends, it's right over Tracy's face. It is the GOAT of all time. You can get it off the screen now. But don't let your girlfriend, don't let advertisers, do not let bottle commercialism tell you that you need anything more than 3-in-1. You're spending too much money. You don't need a bottle for shampoo. You don't need a bottle for conditioner, fancy shampoo, fancy conditioner, and you don't need high-end body wash. You're trying too hard. It's all soap. It all cleans you. One bottle of 3-in-1 is all you need. It's just a cleaning product. Has anyone died from using 3-in-1 before? Don't waste your money. And it's not just a money thing. It's a real estate problem. That's what it really comes down to. You get in the shower, and there's all these bottles everywhere clogging up space in your shower. You don't need a shampoo bottle. You don't need any of it. You need one bottle of Suave 3-in-1. And this is where I have my biggest problem with all these fancy hoity-toity stuff, is when they try to advertise to your manhood. They said, this is a man scent. This is beard body wash. This is lumberjack shampoo. They're trying to get the testosterone flowing when you don't need it. That bottle of Suave 3-in-1 is all you need. Listen, the highlight of my day every day is when I get in the shower and that hot water hits my skin because these endorphins start rushing through my body because they know what's about to hit them. It's the Suave 3-in-1. This is going to roll through my hair. It's why my hair looks so lush all the time. It's the Suave 3-in-1. In short, save your time. Don't go out buying 3 different bottles. Save your money. Don't go out buying 3 different bottles. And save your shower space. Don't buy. Are you a 3-in-1 guy? You're a shampoo, a conditioner, and a body wash guy, aren't you, Trace? I can tell by you.
I am whatever is in the shower that was bought for me. I don't.
The wife does the shopping?
I don't really get into that. I think that for a guy that sat up here and taunted about how he was very concerned about his hair loss, how he was paying attention to it, and how he really wanted to make sure that he got whatever product was needed to make sure he didn't lose his hair. Seems like you got a little bit of a hypocrisy here.
3-in-1 is all you need. Paul, are you a 3-in-1 guy?
I'm not.
You have 3 different products, don't you?
Be honest, I don't condition. I just shampoo.
I'm a 3-in-1 guy.
That's right, Casey, because you're a man of the people. You're a man of the people. 3-in-1 is the way to go. Why is there so much debate about
I love Casey as much as anybody, okay? But what I'm about to say is funny and true. My poor man went to damn Bo Ricks or whatever, got his hair just absolutely butchered. I wouldn't be wasting my money for the next month either trying to wash my head of hair if I had the head of hair that my man Casey had. Now, that said, I don't think that's something you can hang your hat on as being like, oh, Casey's in my corner. Paul Fritzner, put the camera back on Paul for a second. All right, listen, Paul came out of the shower this morning with it exactly like that. Didn't even put anything in his hair. And it looks as if he spent as much time on it as Tom does. So I think you got the wrong people in your corner on this 3-in-1 thing.
Nathan Hines is a 3-in-1 guy. Thomas is not.
Oh, what do you got to say about that, Casey?
I don't have anything to say. I can't say anything. I won't say anything.
Sir Boy said
to keep Nathan Hines' integrity.
Sir Boy said we ripped off Dan Patrick. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Sir Boy. Don't know what you're talking about. It was Will Ferrell who did it. All right, Wheel of Lunch. What do we got for lunch today?
I can't wait for Sir Boy.
I only
to
got
give
2
us
things right now. Wendy's and All Ate Up.
Suggestions.
So what do we got?
Sir Boy said he'd rather have BW.
What? Sir Boy.
I thought you were talking about
Brazil. Brazil just went off the post. They're out of the World Cup. World Cup favorites in penalty kicks. They're out. Not that anybody
Who they
cares.
lose to, Croatia?
Wow.
Croatia.
Yep, Croatia.
In penalties.
Croatia went to the championship last time, right?
So that leaves the door open for who? I mean, is Argentina still in?
Argentina. Let's get an Argentine-Portugal.
Well, what's that one guy that has made he made a parlay of all the champions?
France.
And he just needs France.
Yeah, France is still in. Yeah.
Did he do the cash out? Because he got offered one.
Yeah, he said he wasn't going to do the cash out. The guy. So for the people that are watching the show that have no idea what we're talking about, there's a guy that did a parlay on all the world champions. I think it was a 7-legger, right? And when you do a parlay with world champions, the odds are so much better in your favor. Like, to win a world championship, just to hit that single bet, it's like plus 600-700 most likely. Right. So this guy's got to bet $26 to win, I believe, like 100. Someone looked this up. It's either 177,000 or 711,000, which I know is a big difference, but it's a lot of money. And I seen him yesterday saying that he was not going to cash out unless France ran into Brazil or they ran into, I believe, one other team.
Well, he doesn't have to worry about Brazil anymore.
And he acted like he wasn't worried about England either. And you know what his reason was? It's going to hurt the heart for Americans. He said, they tied with America.
It's good reason, though.
But anyway.
All right. Let's keep your eyes on that. All right. I'm going to throw a suggestion up there.
What's your suggestion?
All Ate Up. It's already on there.
It's already on there.
Well.
Wendy's.
Love the Chargers this weekend, boys. And I like the Giants a little bit, too.
Do you like UC or Xavier?
If the line's less than 4, you gotta bet UC. It makes no sense.
No suggestions?
Suggestion, Trace?
What's that?
You got a suggestion?
Do I have a suggestion? Definitely not Eric.
Spur wants Firehouse.
Ooh, Firehouse. Throw it on.
I got one. Fantastic place. The fact that it hasn't been on this wheel yet is ridiculous. McAllister's.
It's been on there.
It's been on there all ton.
A lot.
It
took like 6. It went like
It took like 2 weeks for us to
I must
spin
have
it.
missed this then. I don't know what I.
Oh, am I putting it on there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
put
throw
it
it on there.
Throw it on there.
Let's go to Luke Fickle's favorite spot now that he's in Wisconsin, Culver's. Throw Culver's on there.
How upset are UC fans that Luke Fickle left?
Were people reading into his goodbye? I saw a couple people.
Yeah, they're pissed.
He didn't actively say.
Well, that's
outwardly
it.
say,
That is
thanks the fans.
That is absurd though. Like, well, why? I mean, how do you? If you're a PR person, how do you not just literally? It's 4 letters. Just put it in there.
Right.
Not hard. Fans.
So you think that do you think that was a mistake? Or
I
do you
don't think
that
Luke
was
Fickle.
a slight?
I don't think Luke Fickle
wrote it. I agree.
And I think what happened was it's like, hey, you think we should write something to Cincinnati? And he's like, yeah, go ahead and write it, and I'll read it real quick. And he signed off on it and really didn't give it much thought.
Make them all the same color.
Could be wrong, but that's how I feel about it.
All right.
Looks good.
Let's go. Get Wendy's out of here.
You hate Wendy's.
I just go so much. No.
It's tough. It's tough.
Oh, that's a tough first
start.
L.
I hope we stay local. And there goes the local one.
No.
You got to get in the car. You got to get in the car.
Oh. Maybe disrespecting me today.
Can't do that in front of.
I really want to cut
in front of the 2 rivalry games.
All right.
There's Wendy's. Can't lose now. Can't lose.
Can't lose.
What are you guys not like Wendy's?
This is the can't lose parlay.
You guys just hate Wendy's.
Wait, make them the same color.
I like this. It's gonna hit. We're gonna be going to
Oh, let's go back to Faith.
All right, going to Culver's.
Culver's, if you haven't been, which everyone has.
Underrated.
Most people think Butterburger. Yeah, Butterburger's good. I like a Butterburger. But the codfish there, sandwich, God,
Like a good fish.
Fantastic.
If you're Catholic, it's good during Lent.
Not even if you're not a Catholic, still pretty good.
Guys, thank you for watching. Back on Monday after a Xavier win and a Bengals win. See ya.
Wrong on both. See ya, boys.